Cluthe's Advice to the Ruptured. By Cluthe Rupture Institute. Table of Contents. Page. One of the world's most terrible burdens. 5. Our 40 years of experience. Our 40 years of experience. 9. Rupture always brought on by weakness. Rupture always brought on by weakness. 12. How to overcome the weakness which causes rupture. How to overcome the weakness which causes rupture. 16. How your rupture is kept from coming out. How your rupture is kept from coming out. 20. The care and attention we give you. The care and attention we give you. 23. Able to work while being cured. Able to work while being cured. 30. Don't let yourself be scared into risking an operation. Don't let yourself be scared into risking an operation. 32. Why ordinary trusses do more harm than good. Why ordinary trusses do more harm than good. 34. Law should stop the sale of drugstore trusses. Law should stop the sale of drugstore trusses. 38. Physicians advise Cluthe truss instead of operation. Physicians advise Cluthe truss instead of operation. 44. Ruptured people swindled out of thousands of dollars. Ruptured people swindled out of thousands of dollars. 46. What we have done for over 290,000 others. What we have done for over 290,000 others. 50. Costs more to do without it than to get it. Costs more to do without it than to get it. 52. The special advice you get in connection with the Cluthe truss. The special advice you get in connection with the Cluthe truss. 57. Forms and conditions of rupture. Forms and conditions of rupture. 60. Let us send you a Cluthe truss on 60 days trial. Let us send you a Cluthe truss on 60 days trial. 65. See how little it costs to get relief. See how little it costs to get relief. 68. Don't let yourself keep on getting worse. Don't let yourself keep on getting worse. 70. One of the world's most terrible burdens. Why so few people know of anything that will do any good? In a good many ways, rupture is one of the world's most terrible burdens. It is almost as common as poor eyesight, and the cause of far more trouble, far greater suffering and worry. For, while it's easy enough to get glasses that will improve the sight, only a small proportion of the vast host of sufferers have ever been fortunate enough to find anything that would even keep rupture from growing worse. And about all a doctor can do is to suggest an operation. Though there are plenty of good physicians, plenty who can conquer other ailments, there are mighty few who can do anything whatever for rupture. But that is no fault of the physicians. This affliction, like trouble with the eyes or teeth, falls entirely outside the physician's province. For medicines, the physician's chief means of cure, are utterly powerless either to relieve or overcome it. And unfortunately, scarcely one sufferer in 100 knows of anyone else to turn to, with the exception of the surgeon, after finding that physicians can give no relief. For the proper treatment of rupture has received little attention as a specialized profession. Scientific treatment of the eyes and of the teeth have both become special professions. You'll find good oculists and good dentists in nearly every town. But in all America, the members of the Cluthe Rupture Institute are probably the only men who have honestly and conscientiously taken up the scientific study and treatment of rupture as their exclusive profession. There have always been plenty of places where a ruptured man could go for a truss: surgical supply houses, truss manufacturers, truss dealers, drugstores, etc. But at these places, though their intentions are good, the men who undertake to fit you have made no special study of rupture, and therefore can do little or nothing for you. And the trusses they give you, because not based on a scientific study of rupture, don't make proper provision for your requirements. Then many sufferers, in their search for relief, have been handicapped by wrong ideas about rupture. There has grown up a general impression that rupture is something to be ashamed of. But a badly mistaken impression. For the plain fact is that rupture, if you don't let it go till complications set in, merely indicates a weakness of certain muscles, and is no more to be ashamed of than a weak stomach or deafness, or poor eyesight. Such wrong ideas, and the false modesty they have bred, have made rupture a tabooed subject, one to be talked about in whispers, one to be discussed with blushes. This lack of frank discussion, lack of light on the subject, has kept people in the dark. So the majority of sufferers haven't known just what was needed. In seeking relief, they have had to trust largely to luck. That is why rupture has heretofore been such a terrible handicap. It has ruined the health of hundreds of thousands, simply because they couldn't find anything that would do any good. Kept them from getting much enjoyment out of life, sapped their strength and vitality, left them more or less helpless, robbed them of the ability to provide for themselves and families. It has probably kept more people from doing their best work than any other one affliction. It has kept many from doing any kind of work whatever. It has cheated American workingmen, all those who have been its victims, out of vast sums of wages. For there's a big difference between what a badly ruptured man can do and earn, and the earnings of one who is sound and strong. Some employers won't even hire a man if they know he is ruptured, afraid he'll have to be so careful of himself that he can't do a good day's work. Rupture has kept lots of business and professional men down. By robbing them of part of their efficiency, it has robbed them of the chance to get farther along, robbed them of money they might have made. For no man can be at his best in any capacity if his rupture is bothering him. The drain on the strength is too great. It has interfered with the pleasures of thousands, deprived them of recreation, kept them from taking part in athletics, kept them from getting proper exercise because they have known of no way to escape the danger that lies in sudden movements. It has made the lives of many women a burden, made it hard for them to do their work or to enjoy social affairs, deprived many of them of the blessings of motherhood. It has seized upon countless children, filled their days with suffering, robbed them of childhood's happiness. But in spite of all that, when taken in time, rupture is no longer a hard thing to get rid of. So easy to overcome that many ruptured people can now be cured while working. And those who can't be cured can at least, unless in the last stages, keep their ruptures from giving any trouble. The main point about rupture is that it requires very different treatment than any other ailment humanity is heir to. Medical treatment, as everybody knows, can accomplish nothing whatever. Surgical treatment or operation, as later explained, is usually dangerous. There remains only one means of relief. That is mechanical treatment. Now, hundreds of methods of mechanical treatment, trusses, appliances, etc., have at different times been devised. But most of them absolutely worthless. For to perfect a beneficial mechanical treatment requires, in addition to considerable mechanical ability, a thorough knowledge of rupture, something few have ever taken the pains to acquire. But here at the Cluthe Rupture Institute we have had over 40 years of day-after-day experience, and successful experience, in the study and treatment of nothing but rupture. And this has given us a thorough knowledge of the needs of ruptured people. As with all the great discoveries which have done so much for suffering mankind, there were many weary years of disappointment before we finally perfected the simple mechanical treatment which has since brought complete recovery to thousands. And, as shown in the following chapters, this simple, inexpensive way to relieve and overcome rupture is within the reach of every sufferer. Moreover, as explained on page 65, every sufferer can easily prove its merits by trying it 60 days at our risk. Our 40 years of experience. Day after day we have dealt with every form and condition of rupture. Like his father and grandfather before him, Chas Cluthe, founder of the Cluthe Rupture Institute, made his start in life in the surgical instrument business. Learned his trade in the old country, over in Germany, where the world's finest surgical instruments are made. Learned the business under the old-fashioned German apprentice system, and got a mighty thorough training, as most men do over there. When still a young man he came to this country, and in course of time, he started up for himself. Now, nearly all surgical instrument houses, in those days same as now, make or sell trusses. And Cluthe soon saw the utter worthlessness of all the trusses then in existence. He saw what a multitude of people were ruptured, saw the great need for something better than ordinary trusses or appliances, something better than operation. He decided that by supplying that need he could be far more useful than by manufacturing surgical instruments. And from that day to this, now over 42 years, the scientific study and relief of rupture have been the one aim of his life. That led, later on, to the founding of the Cluthe Rupture Institute. And there are now 5 of us, father and 4 sons. For as we sons grew up, we were trained in our father's work in the field of rupture, and have become members of the Institute. We 4 sons have all had the benefit of our father's 40 years of experience. And the youngest of us has now had 17 years of individual experience. And here, day after day, we have dealt with rupture in all its forms and stages. Altogether, at this writing, we have treated, by mail and in person, over 290,000 cases. All kinds, from infants in their mother's arms to men and women over 60 and 70. Among them some of the worst cases on record. We have made impartial, fair and square tests of every known method of treatment. We have had experience with all kinds of medical applications, and all kinds of mechanical appliances. We have fitted belt and spring trusses in all their variations. We long ago found just why they all failed to hold or relieve rupture, just why they usually cause the wearer untold torture. We have had the cooperation of some of this country's most noted physicians and surgeons. We have studied the effects and watched the results in hundreds of operations. We have found just why operations are frequently fatal, why they are nearly always dangerous, and why the rupture frequently breaks out anew after the operation apparently heals. Every remedial means in existence for the relief of rupture has been tried. And the result of all this study and experimenting was the invention of the famous Cluthe truss and automatic massager. Something so vastly different from everything else for rupture that it has received 18 separate patents. Something far more than just a truss, something far more than merely a device for holding the rupture in place. Yet the simplest truss ever invented. The Cluthe automatic massaging truss is so utterly unlike anything else for rupture, so much more than just a truss, that sometimes we feel we should have adopted some other name. For the country is full of worthless trusses, and so many people have tried truss after truss without being in any way benefited that they think that nothing called a truss can do any good. Although when people get an inferior article of some other kind, like clothing or shoes, they don't condemn everything similar. This fear of anything called a truss has kept lots of people from answering our advertisements. Lots of people, because of disappointing experience with other trusses, won't even take the trouble to investigate, give themselves no chance to find out about the merits of the Cluthe truss. We would like to have these people believe in us and have them believe in our truss. But by being so suspicious, they lose far more than we. They lose the chance to get better, and probably the chance to get well. We sometimes speak of the Cluthe truss as the Cluthe automatic massager. Both names are necessary if we would do our truss full justice. But we have decided never to give up the word truss, in spite of the fact that its use makes it harder to get people to believe our advertisements. We don't want to fly under false colors. We don't want to do any of the things done by those who have worthless trusses to sell, those who have cheap contraptions which they call appliances, methods, etc., in order to deceive ruptured people. If we were willing to call the Cluthe truss by some other name, we would probably disarm much of the suspicion many people have against the word truss. But we don't want to adopt any subterfuges. And there are now so many people wearing Cluthe automatic massaging trusses, or who have worn them until cured, that simply by one man recommending the Cluthe truss to another the prejudice against the word truss is bound to be overcome in time. Rupture always brought on by weakness. The word rupture is wrong, a relic of the days when no one understood the real nature of this affliction. In its true definition, the word means a break or tear. And that is how this ailment got the name rupture. People used to think the muscles had broken or torn in two. But we have examined hundreds of ruptures under the searching X-rays. And we long ago found that rupture is not a break or tear, something all physicians and surgeons now concede. The muscles at some point have simply lost their strength, lost their elasticity, like a piece of old rubber which has lost its stretch. Sometimes this weakening is due to general poor health, sometimes to lack of exercise, and sometimes the weakness is inherited. Now the bowels are always pushing or pressing more or less against the abdominal wall. Anyone, whether ruptured or not, can plainly feel that pressure when coughing or sneezing, while lifting or other exertion greatly increases the pressure or strain. When in a healthy or sound condition, the abdominal wall is elastic, and when the bowels push against it, the muscles which form it simply stretch until the strain on them is over. Just as when you pull at your cheek, the flesh falls back in position the instant you let go. But if the muscles of the abdomen are in a weak condition, they can't stand much strain, can no longer stretch. Any quick movement is often enough to cause them to spread apart, forming an opening through which a part of the bowels pushes out or protrudes. Now there is only one way to overcome that weakened condition, only one way to get rid of rupture without undergoing the dangers of operation. As a first essential, proper artificial support must be applied at the point of rupture. Comfortable mechanical support that can be depended upon to hold the bowels always in place. Just as a broken bone must be held in place, while healing, by a bandage or plaster cast. Dr. Burkitt, of the famous Guy's Hospital of London, and one of the world's most eminent medical and surgical authorities, says this: "The expediency of judiciously pursuing the mechanical treatment of every variety of hernia, rupture, cannot be too strongly urged upon the laity by the profession. In both sexes it should be carefully conducted the moment that the slightest protrusion shows itself, whether the hernia occurs in infancy, youth, middle age, or at later periods of life. If properly watched and judiciously supported, it usually gives but little trouble. In many cases it is even cured. But on the contrary, if it be neglected, increase in bulk and sooner or later disease states of the rupture, often leading to the death of the individual, will almost infallibly occur. And there is only one thing in the world that can give the mechanical support which Dr. Burkitt and other famous physicians say is essential. That is the right kind of truss. Any system of treatment, except operation, which claims to relieve or cure rupture without the use of a truss is simply a fraud. The weak muscles at the rupture opening can't possibly get strong without the aid of a truss that will do what the muscles themselves are too weak to do, a truss that will hold the bowels in place. But trusses which will do that even half the time are mighty scarce. Thousands of sufferers have tried truss after truss in hopes they would finally get one that would do it, and to this day haven't found such a truss. All trusses and appliances claim to hold you together. But ordinary trusses, those with bands or belts or springs around the body, those with leg straps, those sold by drugstores and hernia specialists, are absolutely wrong in principle, construction, and action. They are like trousers worn without suspenders or belt, continually slipping. You've got to keep adjusting and hitching them up. The harness shifts or pulls the holding pads away from the rupture opening. Thus your rupture is continually coming out. Nature never gets the ghost of a chance to start any healing process. But even if such trusses did hold the rupture in place, that alone could never result in cure, couldn't even result in improvement. Because that alone does nothing whatever to strengthen the weakened muscles, or to overcome the muscle lifelessness, the conditions which cause rupture. No man ever made his arm strong by not using it. And if a truss does nothing more than hold the rupture in place, the muscles at the rupture opening are never used, get no exercise, so they grow constantly weaker instead of stronger. We have had cases here at the Institute where, for lack of activity, the muscles around the rupture opening had withered almost completely away. And usually, in addition to lack of use, the deadening, benumbing pressure from a wrong truss was partly responsible for that withered or deadened condition of the muscles. We can do nothing in cases like that. Neither can an operation or anything else. It is entirely too late. Like a man whose arm has been broken. While carried in a sling or plaster cast, the arm tends to lose its strength, loses it through lack of use. And if, after the bone has knit, the arm is still carried in a sling, never used, its muscles would soon atrophy or become dead, weaken and waste away until useless. A doctor would insist that the arm be used or exercised as soon as the bone had knit, thus gradually restoring it to strength. Same way with rupture. It can be cured or made better only by strengthening the weakened muscles, gently exercising them, giving them support which takes the strain off them while helping them do their work until, gradually, they regain their full strength and need no help. Yet we of the Cluthe Rupture Institute are the only people today who take that physiological fact into consideration. How to apply our knowledge of that physiological fact, how to exercise and thus strengthen the weak ruptured parts while at the same time supporting and holding them in place wasn't the easiest thing in the world to discover. However, the Cluthe Truss or Cluthe Automatic Massager provides a way, and is the only thing ever invented that can both hold the rupture and give nature the necessary assistance in the process of strengthening the weak parts. Just how it assists nature is explained in the next chapter. How to overcome the weakness which causes rupture. A new way, but based on a principle as old as the hills, a principle recognized by all doctors. As everybody knows, you can make most any part of the body strong simply by exercising it. Exercise is a wonderful thing. Keep a child cooped up, give it no place to play, and it will probably grow up puny and sickly. While a boy on the farm, with the big out of doors for a playground, is usually a picture of health. Or take a blacksmith. He is constantly using or exercising his arms, so you'll find them as hard as nails. While his legs, because he doesn't use them so much, aren't likely to be nearly so well developed. A man in an office or store usually has soft, flabby, weak muscles. But let that man take up some form of exercise, like tennis or baseball, and his muscles will soon be strong. It is a law of nature that our minds and muscles grow by proper use, building themselves up to meet any demands made on them. That is why, after any sickness which leaves the body weak, doctors nearly always tell you to take plenty of exercise. Until recent years, the only way to develop strength was by active exercise, movement of the muscles by their own force, as in walking, chopping wood, or playing some game. But nowadays there is a substitute for exercise, called massage, a sort of artificial exercise, a way to strengthen muscles without using them. In simple language, massage consists in alternately expanding and contracting the muscles by applying a gentle force externally, instead of moving them by voluntary and internal force. Now massage, like ordinary exercise, is so strengthening that it will overcome almost any kind of weakness. So invigorating and beneficial that many well-known physicians say the day is coming when it will be an almost universal method of cure for every trouble in any way due to weakness. At the Vanderbilt Clinic in New York, many cases of weak ankles, weak backs, etc., have been cured by massage. Now rupture, as shown in the last chapter, is also a weakness. But massage, as given at hospitals, can't be used to advantage for rupture. Too expensive, requires an expert, and could be given only when you are lying flat on your back in bed, therefore couldn't be given very often, and it would take years for only occasional massaging to overcome rupture. Moreover, hospital or hand massage could be used only in combination with a truss that would keep the rupture from coming out. A protrusion every day or so, as happens with most trusses, would undo all the beneficial effects of the massage. But the invention of the Cluthe truss, the only truss that can be depended on to prevent protrusion, makes hand or hospital massage unnecessary. It takes their place. It massages the weak ruptured parts as well as a skilled hand massager could, as well as could be done at a hospital. And charges nothing for giving the massage. There is no expense beyond the price of the truss. It massages the weak ruptured parts entirely automatically or mechanically, and does it in a wonderfully simple way. The massaging device, so small it would go in a watch case, is so simple that you'll wonder when you see it how it can produce such a strengthening effect. Keeps massaging the weak ruptured parts all day long, all without a moment's attention from you, all without keeping you from your work, all without in any way interfering with your pleasure. And at the same time, holds the rupture constantly and comfortably in place. Takes all strain off the ruptured parts, rests the weakened muscles while the massage is strengthening them. Just as you must rest a strained ankle, keep your weight off it, while it is healing. Keeps you from even feeling a single one of the strains that are apt to do so much harm when other trusses are worn. That is how this remarkable truss, while overcoming your weakness, rids work of all its dangers. Takes away all risk of further weakening yourself or of making the rupture worse. Instead, any work you do will actually help make your rupture better, actually have a healing or curative effect. Every movement you make, in working, walking, exercising, even in breathing, so acts on the Cluthe truss as to help produce the strengthening massage. This massage is wonderfully soothing, like gently rubbing a bruised spot, and is so remarkably beneficial that in about 199 cases out of every 200, the rupture usually begins to get better almost the day a Cluthe truss is put on. So remarkably beneficial that the Cluthe truss has cured some of the worst cases of rupture on record, cured many of them even after everything else, including operation, had done no good whatever. For this massage does for the weak ruptured parts exactly what exercise does for the arms or legs, gradually gives new strength, in most cases soon makes the ruptured parts as strong and sound as $1. This massage, in some ways, is like osteopathic treatment, which, as a cure for certain ailments, is fast taking the place of drugs and surgical operations. Most likely you've heard or read about some of the osteopathic cures. Nearly everybody nowadays has. Maybe you know of osteopathic cures right there in your own neighborhood. Some of the cures made in this way seem almost magical. And it is largely because massage forms a big part of it that osteopathic treatment does so much good, especially in many kinds of weakness. Like a weak back, or weak kidneys, or weak or worn out nerves, etc. And there's only one reason why osteopathic physicians can't cure rupture as easily as any other weakness. Like hospital massage, it can be given only when you are flat on your back, and unless a Cluthe truss is worn, which takes the place of osteopathic treatment and makes it unnecessary, just as it does the hospital massage, there would be no way of preventing protrusion between treatments. Moreover, osteopathic treatment, like hospital massage, would be too expensive for most people, even if given only occasionally. For osteopathic physicians charge $3 to $5 a treatment. But the Cluthe truss keeps giving the massage part of osteopathic treatment, the strengthening part of the treatment, all day long, and all without any expense, except the small cost of the truss. How your rupture is kept from coming out. And how the Cluthe truss is held in position by suction, no belt, leg straps or springs around the body. The Cluthe truss is the only kind in existence which applies the support at the proper angle, upwards against the rupture opening, thus counteracting the internal downward pressure of the abdominal organs, the natural tendency of the bowels to push out. And unlike all others, it is self-adjusting, self-regulating. Automatically adjusts itself with every one of your movements when you in any way exert your strength. Sudden strains or movements, like coughing or sneezing, like in working or exercising, strains which would cause other trusses to slip or shift out of position, simply cause an instant, automatic increase in the comfortable support a Cluthe truss gives to your rupture. Every strain of any kind is instantly and automatically counteracted. After fitting men here at the Institute, we have had them do everything we could think of, but they couldn't throw the Cluthe holding pads out of position, couldn't force the rupture out. The holding power of this truss instantly increased to meet every strain the men made. The Cluthe automatic holding pads, the pads which hold the rupture in place, are free-acting, work on a ball-bearing, universal joint. Thus they are wonderfully sensitive to the slightest movement, instantly respond to each movement. No other truss in the world has this self-adjusting feature. No other can hold a bad rupture, no other can keep the rupture from getting worse. Just as no other can overcome the weakness which causes rupture, no other can give the strengthening massage which the Cluthe truss gives, no other can make the rupture better. We have so much confidence in the Cluthe truss that we guarantee in writing, as fully explained on page 66, that it will at all times prevent protrusion. Another thing about the Cluthe truss. In cases of double rupture, this truss is of course equipped with automatic holding pads on both sides. While in case of single rupture, the side not ruptured is protected against strains by a free-acting protection pad. This supports and strengthens the well side, prevents all danger of double rupture. Every man who has a double rupture originally had only a single rupture. Most other trusses fail to provide any dependable protection for the well side in single rupture. And now note that when you put on a Cluthe truss, there's no belt, band, or elastic around the waist, no springs, no leg straps, nothing that can pinch, squeeze, or bind, nothing that can cut, chafe, or in any way irritate the skin. It is the only truss without harness of any kind whatever. It is held on the body by free-acting suction or vacuum pads. These pads rest lightly and comfortably over the natural cushion of muscles forming the rump, and hold the truss securely in position on the body in much the same way suction holds a properly fitting set of false teeth so comfortably in place that they seem like natural teeth. Because free from harness, there is nothing about the Cluthe truss that can bulge the clothing. It can be worn under corsets, or worn under tights without showing. Many acrobats wear Cluthe trusses under their tights when performing. Yet the Cluthe truss doesn't squeeze or hug, doesn't bind against the body at any point save where the suction pads rest and where the holding pads support the rupture. This makes it the most comfortable truss ever invented. Many people have written us that it is as comfortable as their clothing. Another feature. Every part of the Cluthe truss is covered with vulcanized rubber or waterproof casing. No leather or cloth or similar material to heat up the skin and make it tender. Nothing that can absorb perspiration, nothing that can get sweaty, sticky, or foul-smelling. And because waterproof, it can easily be washed, easily kept clean. It is about the only truss that is all waterproof. Therefore about the only truss you can keep on while taking a bath or swim, a time when you are in danger, if you have no truss on, of having the rupture thrown out by the bending and twisting you do. Other trusses which claim to be waterproof can't be depended upon to hold, won't hold successfully when you are in the water or any other time. It takes more than waterproof quality alone to keep rupture from coming out. Yet, with all its exclusive superiorities, the Cluthe truss, including the professional services of the members of the Cluthe Institute, costs only a trifle more than the worthless trusses which do little or no good whatever. The care and attention we give you, all without taking you a single step from your home or a minute from work or business. When you try a Cluthe automatic massaging truss, you will find that you get vastly different treatment, vastly better care and attention, than when you go to a drug store or local truss dealer. For you will get from us, in connection with the Cluthe truss, and without extra charge, the skilled care and attention of 5 men, the 5 members of the Cluthe Rupture Institute, who are pretty well known throughout America as being foremost in the field of rupture. And you will get our care and attention, and our special advice on your case, without putting yourself to half as much trouble as when you go to a drug store. You will get it merely by sending us, as explained farther on, a little simple information. We can study and understand your case as well with you 5 to 5,000 or more miles away as we could with you right before us, or just as well as the best physician could study and diagnose a case of typhoid or other sickness right at the bedside of the patient. Our system of attending to people by mail is so exact, and our knowledge and skill so great, that no matter how far away you are we can fit you correctly with a Cluthe truss just as surely as a high-class tailor could fit you with a suit of clothes after taking your measurements himself. The Cluthe Rupture Institute. Here we have on file, in writing, complete particulars concerning each of the 290,000 cases we have attended to. Every case is carefully indexed and ready for instant reference. Nothing is left to memory or guesswork, nothing can be overlooked, nothing forgotten. Thus your case can be easily and accurately compared with hundreds of similar cases. You see, we have made mail-order fitting and mail-order care and attention a science. That, together with the superiority of the Cluthe truss, together with the knowledge and experience gained through attending to thousands of widely different cases, gives us a tremendous advantage over your local druggist or anyone else you could go to. For years our institute was located in the heart of New York City, within a short car ride of several million people. And there, in the course of years, among the thousands of people who came in person to be attended to at our institute, we had in our care case after case of every kind and condition of rupture ever known. And all this time we were also attending by mail to cases of all kinds in all parts of the civilized world. No druggist, no truss fitter in any drug store or surgical supply house, no one else in all America, ever had such a wonderful opportunity to learn all the peculiarities of rupture. Our experience has been so complete that in the last 5 years we haven't come across a single case, either by mail or among those who came to the Institute, which presented any peculiarities that we were not already familiar with. Yet, because he has never seen a case like it before, a case that would seem simple to us often completely baffles the best of trust fitters in drug stores, local trust concerns, surgical supply houses, etc. Now it is only in the largest drug stores, local trust establishments, and surgical instrument houses, perhaps in only 5 or 6 places in a city like New York or Chicago, that a special or expert trust fitter of any kind is employed. So if a comparatively simple case puzzles these expert fitters, a man certainly can expect much satisfaction at the small drug store, where whichever clerk that isn't busy, at best someone with little or no knowledge at all of rupture, will undertake to wait on you. During our long experience, for every person who came to our institute we have probably attended to 10 others by mail. And we have proved over and over, year after year, that we can give relief by mail to the man 5 or 5,000 miles away just as well as to the man who came to our institute. So now we have moved our institute to Bloomfield, New Jersey, only 10 miles from New York City, a quiet suburb where we can give our entire time to attending to cases by mail. For we have found that the great majority of the victims of rupture can't afford to lay off from work or business long enough to undergo operation, the only thing besides the Cluthe Trust which can be looked upon as a means of relief. We have found that most ruptured people can't spare the money required for an operation, and that many of them, largely because they have been wearing, for years, perhaps, trusses which have been letting them get worse all the time, are so weakened and run down in health that they stand little chance of recovering from the shock of an operation. These are the people who are most in need of our trusts and most in need of our skilled care and attention. And here in Bloomfield we can do more good, give relief to more people by mail, than we could had we remained in New York. And here, day after day, we are attending by mail to people in New York City, only 10 miles away, just as we are to sufferers in Maine, Georgia, Illinois, Kansas, California, etc. Big businessmen in New York, bankers, presidents of big corporations, noted lawyers and others, men perhaps living in the same block with some noted physician or surgeon, men who could send for their autos and in 15 to 30 minutes be in any one of New York's best hospitals, men who can afford the best medical and surgical care in the world, are among those who have ordered Cluthe trusses from us here in Bloomfield in exactly the same way, by mail, that a man out in Ohio or Oregon would. Now when men like these, many of them acting on the advice of famous physicians, are taking advantage of the care and attention we give by mail in connection with the Cluthe trusts, it is mighty good proof of our ability to attend to any kind of case by mail. The first thing we do, when a man writes for a Cluthe trust, is to make a careful, scientific study of his case. We must understand your case thoroughly, know all its peculiarities. And please bear in mind that your case will receive the personal attention of at least 3 members. Perhaps there will be a consultation of all 5 members of the Cluthe Rupture Institute. No order is ever put in the hands of a clerk, or helper, or other inexperienced person. In each case we give our complete professional service. Each case is treated individually. We take into consideration the kind of rupture, the location of the rupture opening, the size of the protrusion, the length of time ruptured, the cause of the rupture, whether or not an operation has been performed, etc., etc. You will find, on our information blank, one is enclosed with this book, or see duplicate questions on page 73, some simple, easily answered questions concerning these points. And your answers to these questions, if your answers are correct, furnish us all the guidance we need as to the special requirements of your case. Just as a physician in writing a prescription is guided by the answers to his simple questions. That is how we determine the shape and size of the automatic holding pad. In case of double rupture, each rupture is individually treated, usually a different kind of pad for each side, for both sides are seldom the same. And that is how we determine the adjustment of the pads in all parts, the amount of support needed and the regulation of the holding pads to give the support, etc., etc. Then, after deciding all these points, we make for you a special Cluthe truss, one exactly adapted to your individual case, every part of it exactly what your condition requires. Compare that with the way drug stores and local truss dealers try to fit you with a ready-made stock truss. We next take this specially made truss to our gallery of statues, which consists of life-size and lifelike models or dummy figures. And here, no matter what your size or build, we have a dummy model corresponding to your living self in shape, a form your clothes would fit just as they fit on you. When we see the measurements you give when ordering, they are all provided for in a simple way on our information or question blank. We know at once which one of our many models or forms to use. And on this form, duplicating your size and build, we fit your truss, as soon as it is made, just as if you yourself were right here in front of us. We can usually make up your truss, fit it, and have it ready to send within 24 to 36 hours after receiving your order. Every day we fit in this way scores of people we have never seen. And it's only in about one case out of several hundred that we fail to give perfect fit. While in such cases, usually only some slight adjustment is needed to make the fit perfect, some simple adjustment which the patient himself can easily make. Our common sense instructions fully provide for proper adjustment if any is necessary. Our ability to meet the exact requirements of your case, our expert skill and care in fitting, are things no one else can give you, for no one else has had our 40 years of professional experience, no one else has learned how, as we have. The method we follow, which is exclusively our own, is the only method of fitting that can result in continuous and comfortable holding. And continuous and comfortable holding, combined with the soothing, strengthening and healing massage treatment which the Cluthe truss automatically gives, is the only thing, save an operation, which can't always do it, that can effect a permanent cure. How day after day holding is given by the Cluthe automatic pad. The above illustration represents the side view of the lower abdomen of a person of medium size. C, A, and E is the natural line of the abdomen. D, B, and F is the line when the abdomen is inflated by coughing, sneezing, or any exertion or strain. The black disc is the pad. When the wearer coughs or strains, pad end is forced to position B, while the lower or retaining end of pad E is instantly forced inward to position F, thereby completely checking the descent of the rupture and effectively locking it in. Thus, rupture is at all times retained with the least possible pressure of pad under normal conditions, yet the extra pressure needed is instantly and automatically given when any exertion or strain demands it. This automatic action of the holding pad also massages the ruptured parts. This massage has a soothing, healing effect, like gently rubbing your forehead when you have a headache, or like rubbing a bruised spot, and gradually overcomes the weakness which causes rupture, gradually strengthens the weak ruptured parts, just as exercise strengthens the muscles of the arms. Able to work while being cured. For men with a living to make, work to do, business to attend to, families to provide for, the Cluthe truss is nothing less than a godsend. And it means just as much to men who want to take part in athletic games, men who want active outdoor exercise. Some, in their letters to us, have called it a lifesaver. For the Cluthe truss rids work and exercise of every one of their dangers, rids them of every one of their injurious effects on rupture. You who read this, by letting us send you a Cluthe truss on 60 days trial, can easily prove all that, just as thousands of others have proved it. With this truss on, there isn't the slightest risk of having your rupture forced out by sudden strains or movements. Just bear that in mind, you who have been compelled, because your truss has been doing no good, to drop everything perhaps 2 or 3 times a day or more and put your rupture back. This truss puts an end to all danger of further weakening yourself while working, puts an end to all danger of making your rupture worse. Just keep that in mind, you who now scarcely dare do a thing, scarcely even cough or laugh, for fear of bad effects on your rupture, for fear your truss will yield and let the rupture escape. And with a Cluthe truss on, work, exercise, or outdoor sports will never cause any discomfort. Don't overlook that, you who have been putting up with old-fashioned trusses or appliances, with their belts, bands, elastics, leg straps, and other torturing harness, trusses which hurt so much every time you move that they almost drive you frantic. Instead of letting work injure you in any way, a Cluthe truss, as previously explained, makes the work you do and the exercise you take actually help make your rupture better, makes your work actually have a healing or curative effect. There is plenty of proof of that. Men doing heavy work, and doing it every day, men like farmers, blacksmiths, railway firemen, factory workers, miners, etc., are among those cured by this truss, cured while working right along, cured while earning good incomes. Also, men taking more or less violent exercise, like baseball players, tennis players, horseback and bicycle riders, etc. Some of them, while working, remember, cured in less than 3 months. A lot of them cured in from 4 to 12 months, among them men who had been ruptured as long as 15 to 30 years. And took only a little while longer for some who had been ruptured as long as 50 years to be cured. You will find, at the back of this book, many letters in proof of this. We have seen the Cluthe Trust do so much good for so many other people that we feel sure it can do wonders for you. So sure it will help you, just as it did them that, as explained in a later chapter, we are willing to let you test it on 60 days trial, to prove just how much it can benefit you. Don't let yourself be scared into risking an operation. Cluthe Trust has done away with all need for operation, except in occasional cases. People used to think that an operation was the only way to cure rupture, thought they had to be cut open. Just as people used to know no better than to undergo bleeding, no matter in what way they were sick. Histories and biographies tell us it was the loss of blood from this barbarous bleeding which led to George Washington's death. But nowadays we never hear of bleeding. Just as fever patients are no longer denied ice water and ice applications. Though not so many years ago, people were literally allowed to burn up with fever. Operation for rupture, for reasons stated below, has never been much more than a life or death chance, even for those with a rugged constitution. Thousands of ruptured people have died under the surgeon's knife. Oftentimes a weak heart, because of the ether, makes it unsafe even to attempt operation. And it has always been a big expense which not 1 in 100 could afford. Even though it had no dangers, the cost and the long layoff from work or business make it useless for the majority of sufferers to think of an operation. The reasons operation is so risky for most people are these. The sufferer is seldom in condition for an operation, is run down, the vitality is low, that is why the muscles over the intestines have weakened and spread. Another grave danger lies in the fact that a very large opening must be made, many delicate tissues cut through, before the surgeon can reach the weakened muscles which cause the rupture. Moreover, in a surgical operation, the relaxed muscles are tightened simply by shortening them, by cutting out a piece. But nothing is done to strengthen these muscles. Nature is in no way assisted. The parts usually remain weak. That is why, when a man leaves the hospital after an operation for rupture, he is usually told to wear a truss or support. And that is why, in about 6 out of every 10 apparently successful operations, the rupture sooner or later breaks out anew. So we would never advise an operation, save as a last resort. As in strangulated hernia, where there is no hope except through heroic measures. Save in very rare cases, there is now no need whatever to undergo the dangers of an operation, no need to risk the surgeon's knife. No need to incur the big expense of going to a hospital, no need to lose any time from work or business, no need to be in bed a single day. For since the invention of the Cluthe Truss or Cluthe automatic massager, the day of operation is over, save for an occasional case. The Cluthe Truss has probably effected more permanent cures than all the operations ever performed. And is always safe, and almost invariably beneficial, whether or not it brings complete cure. Cure is sometimes impossible, as told in another chapter. Why ordinary trusses do more harm than good. The country is full of trusses which are nothing but more or less worthless makeshifts. Some with so little merit that they try to hide under other names. Like the junk handed out at drugstores. Like the traps peddled by the quacks who pose as hernia specialists. Trusses and appliances with belts, bands or springs around the waist, trusses with leg straps, etc. Some of these trusses cost little more to make than a pair of good suspenders or garters. A little leather, a few pieces of elastic or web band, a cloth-covered pad with sawdust in it, is about all there is to them. So, like suspenders or garters, they absorb perspiration. That rots them so they soon give out. But their greatest weakness isn't in their cheap materials. It's in their unscientific construction, in the fact that they usually do more harm than good. A rubber band around your waist would do as much good as some of these makeshift trusses and appliances, and not be so apt to do harm. Might just as well wear your suspenders or garters over your rupture as some of the trusses and devices with which this country is overrun. Some of these trusses would hold your rupture just about as well if you left them hanging in the closet instead of wearing them. During the many years the Cluthe Rupture Institute was located in New York City, we had daily evidence of the utter worthlessness of all such trusses. Every day, one after another of the victims of such appliances were coming to us for relief. When we examined these patients, we usually found that the rupture had pushed the pads aside and worked out above or below them. Sometimes we found that the pads had worked away from the rupture opening, worked down against the pelvic bone, and the ruptured parts had slipped out and were being squeezed between the pads and the bone, a condition apt to result in strangulation. Some of these patients came to us suffering intense torture from the terrific pressure of such trusses, pressure perhaps 10 times greater than needed, and this cruel pressure is exerted from the wrong direction, in the wrong place. Perhaps merely a slight sneeze or cough is enough to push the pads out of position. And then the pressure of these pads forces the ruptured parts out, instead of holding them in. Sometimes the pads had slipped down so far on the pelvic bone, or had been pulled down by the leg straps, that there was no support for the rupture whatever. And this constant pressure against the pelvic bone saps the vitality, often causing sexual weakness and mental failing. For between this bone and the outer skin is the sensitive, life-giving spermatic cord. Also, we have found in hundreds of cases that these belt and spring trusses press against the femoral artery so severely that heart disorders result, causing dizziness, headaches, irritability, etc. Yet the patient seldom associates his truss with these troubles, seldom knows their cause. And constipation and stomach troubles are often brought on by these trusses. Gas on the stomach is a common result. These troubles can be remedied only by removing the cause, only by discarding the harmful truss. The Cluthe truss soon overcomes such complications. We have countless letters, from people formerly suffering from such troubles brought on by wrong trusses, telling how the Cluthe truss has given them a new lease on life, made them feel many years younger. Among patients who came to us wearing spring trusses, we have often found evidence of injury to the spine. For such trusses press against the spine, the delicate center of the nervous system, just as cruelly as they dig into the abdomen and the pelvic bone in front. And frequently, when patients came to us wearing belt trusses, we have found the tender skin all cut and bruised where the belt fits around the body. And nearly always the cruel leg straps had made the wearer's legs raw and sore. The sufferer who wears a truss like these can scarcely have a moment's comfort. Thousands of belt and spring trusses have been thrown away by new patients at our institute, after we had fitted them with Cluthe trusses. And among all these discarded trusses we have never found one that could be properly adjusted. The pressure couldn't be properly regulated. There is by far too much pressure at times when only slight pressure is needed. And, at times of strain, when more pressure is needed, there is no increase in pressure to meet that need. This unregulated pressure tends to stretch the weakened muscles at the point of rupture, distends and enlarges the opening. That is one reason why a rupture grows constantly worse when a leg strap or spring truss is worn. Such trusses are a crime. Wearing them is simply slow suicide. We keep a record showing the history of every rupture we treat. This record shows that every severe rupture with which we have had to deal has grown into a serious case solely through the wear of some form of the belt or spring truss. Just judge of all this by your own experience. Probably, in spite of the trusses you've been wearing, your rupture has grown constantly worse instead of better. And then, for the sake of comparison, just read some of the letters you'll find at the back of this book. See the verdicts of people who have had experience with both the Cluthe truss and with other kinds. Trusses like these are a crime. So-called appliances are usually merely a slight adaptation of this style of truss, merely the most worthless kinds of trusses masquerading under misleading names. So-called appliances are usually merely a slight adaptation of this style of truss, merely the most worthless kinds of trusses masquerading under misleading names. The only way to give leverage to the pad is to tighten up the belt and the leg straps. The tighter they are, the farther they pull the pad away from the rupture opening. The leg straps pull the pad down on the pelvic bone, where its pressure squeezes the life-giving spermatic cord. Whenever the wearer coughs, sneezes, or is under strain, the bowels leave their natural position, working out and in through the rupture opening, due to flexibility and stretching of straps, and the bowels when out are repeatedly pressed between the pelvic bone and the pad. The cruel spring truss. It is impossible to keep the spring truss in position. Due to the force of the springs around the waist, the pads dig against the pelvic bone with terrible pressure, sapping the vitality. The previous chapter shows how most ruptures grow constantly worse when trusses like these are worn. The cruel spring truss. It is impossible to keep the spring truss in position. Due to the force of the springs around the waist, the pads dig against the pelvic bone with terrible pressure, sapping the vitality. The previous chapter shows how most ruptures grow constantly worse when trusses like these are worn. Dotted lines in lower illustration show spring truss coiled up before applied. Try to hold springs apart as when on the body as shown for half a minute. Then you will know what criminal pressure the spring truss gives. Full page thumbnail. Dotted lines in lower illustration show spring truss coiled up before applied. Try to hold springs apart as when on the body as shown for half a minute. Then you will know what criminal pressure the spring truss gives. Full page thumbnail. Full page thumbnail. Law should stop the sale of drugstore trusses. We believe the day will soon come when laws will be passed forbidding anyone either to fit or sell trusses without a legal license. Just as physicians, surgeons, and dentists must all have licenses, so must oculists and opticians in most states. Also druggists, before they can fill prescriptions. And unless a man has made a specialized study of rupture, unless he has a thorough knowledge of it, he should no more be allowed to sell or fit trusses than a schoolboy should be allowed to practice medicine. Ruptured people seriously risk their health when they trust their cases to anyone who hasn't made a thorough, specialized study of rupture. That is almost as dangerous as having a prescription filled by an inexperienced clerk, instead of by a registered pharmacist. For a wrong truss can cause immense harm. When the time comes when trusses can be sold only under license, we'll see most of the self-styled hernia specialists driven out of business. We'll also see an end to the selling of stock trusses by general mail order houses where an order for a truss is handled in exactly the same way, and often by the same man, as an order for groceries or hardware. And when that time comes, mighty few drugstores will be able to sell trusses. Let us show why. Take the following as an example. A man might think he had only a bad cold, and might go to a drugstore. Now, a druggist doesn't pretend to know disease, he simply knows drugs. So about all the druggist could do would be to hand out some patent medicine, some cure-all. But if the man went out to a good physician, the physician might find, after asking a few questions and thus making a diagnosis, that the patient had la grippe, or pneumonia, or pleurisy, instead of merely a cold, as the patient thought. The physician would find out what the patient needed, then write a specific prescription, and sell them the same prescription for any two patients. For the requirements would always differ. Or a man might have poor eyesight. He might go to an optician. Now, an optician doesn't know much about eyes, he has made a special study of lenses. He merely fits glasses, just as a druggist merely fills prescriptions, either pretends to diagnose or prescribe. And an optician is just as likely as not to fit a near-sighted man with far-sighted glasses. But if the man with poor eyesight goes to an oculist, the oculist finds out what the trouble is, and what kind of glasses are needed, then prescribes that kind of glasses. And then the optician fits the man according to the oculist's prescription, just as a druggist fills a physician's prescription. Now our method of fitting you by mail is precisely like the physician's method. From your answers to the simple questions we ask on our information blank, we first decide the needs of your case, then we prescribe. Then we fill our prescription by making especially for your case exactly the kind of truss you need. A physician never asks you what kind of medicine you want. He prescribes for you the kind which he knows you need. But if you go to a drugstore for a truss, the clerk behind the counter asks you what kind of truss you want. You must be your own doctor. Neither the drug clerk nor the druggist knows enough about rupture to know what kind of truss you need. And usually, his knowledge of trusses is confined to the difference in prices. He'd rather sell you a $10 truss than a $3 truss. His knowledge of fitting is not much greater. If you measure 36 inches around the hips, he gives you a 36-inch truss, which, in everything except size, would be exactly like the truss he'd sell at the same price, to a man with a rupture only half as bad as yours, or to a man with a rupture twice as bad as yours. A drugstore sells trusses in exactly the same way that the old-fashioned shoe store sold shoes. It was solely a matter of how much the customer wanted to pay, and the style the customer wanted, not what the customer needed. Thousands of people have been all crippled up because their shoes were too short, or too narrow, or the wrong shape. The old-fashioned shoe clerk knew his stock, but he didn't know enough about the customer's feet to know when the customer was properly fitted. Just as thousands of people have trouble with their glasses because they were fitted by an optician over the counter, instead of having an oculist prescribed for them. And partly because improperly fitted at drugstores, and partly because drugstore trusses are usually mere makeshifts, thousands of people are today wearing trusses which are doing immense harm instead of good, trusses which cause the rupture to grow constantly worse. Even if there is any druggist in the country who does happen to know much about rupture and about fitting trusses, he'd have to be a mighty bright man to be able to fit you at all properly with the kind of trusses sold in the average drugstore. Practically all the drugstore trusses are simply some form of the old belt or springs and leg strap truss, though sold under hundreds of different names as improvements. They are usually cheaply constructed, turned out by machinery in immense quantities. And they are always ready-made, stock, trusses. Each kind made in only one model or style, and the pads in only a few different shapes and sizes, making mighty scant provision for the wide variation between the ruptures of different people, making mighty little allowance for the fact that what will do for one man won't do at all for another. Your rupture, when out, may be the size of a hen's egg, your neighbor may have a protrusion almost as big as his head, and a lot of other men with protrusions ranging all the way from one extreme to the other. To say nothing of big differences in other ways besides size. Each of you should have a size and shape of holding pad especially adapted to the needs of your case. Each should have a truss put together especially for you. Else there can be no such thing as continuous, comfortable holding of the rupture. So you see the absurdity of trying to get a comfortably fitting truss at a drugstore, or of expecting to get one that will do much good. Might as well expect all men to be properly fitted in a shoe store which carries only one size and shape of shoe, or in a hat store which carries only one size of hat. Might as well expect both nearsighted and far-sighted men to see better if both wore the same kind of glasses. And might as well expect common window glass to improve the eyesight as to expect common drugstore trusses to do any good. There is just as much difference in different men's ruptures as in the size and shape of their feet or heads. Just as much variation in rupture as in failing eyesight. And everybody knows that one man may need very powerful glasses, while another needs glasses which magnify only slightly. One may need a double lens, while another needs only a single lens. One may need convex lenses, while another needs concave. All this doesn't mean that it is hard to fit ruptured people, but merely that ample provision must be made for the different requirements, as a shoe store does for men's feet. We have found it necessary to make the Cluthe holding pads in 115 different styles, shapes, and sizes. And frequently we have to make a special style or size. Thus, no matter what your rupture is like, we can fit you with a Cluthe truss, one put together especially for you, one that will meet your requirements just as well as a shoe store can fit you with shoes, or an oculist fit you with exactly the kind of glasses you need. It is for these reasons, their ignorance of rupture, that we have never sold the Cluthe truss through druggists. Trusses are simply a sideline in the average drugstore. Just as cigars are, or soft drinks. A druggist knows all about drugs. He has made them his special study. But he doesn't know much about rupture, doesn't pretend to, and can't be expected to, because he hasn't made a study of it. It took us, here at the Cluthe Rupture Institute, over 40 years to learn all that we now know about rupture. 40 years of day-after-day concentration on the study and treatment of rupture. And during those 40 years, we have learned things about rupture which no one else has ever learned. We have gained knowledge which is exclusively our own. And it took many years of scientific study and experiment to perfect the Cluthe truss, and to design the hundreds of different kinds, sizes, and shapes of holding pads which adapt this truss to every form and condition of rupture known today. We have told you this, reader, to show that placing yourself in our care is vastly different from going to a drugstore, or to a mere dealer in trusses or manufacturer of them. And the following chapters will show that even more conclusively, showing a few of the different sizes and shapes in which the Cluthe holding pads are made. Physicians advise Cluthe truss instead of operation. Until they know of something better, most physicians, because of their training, naturally believe in hospital treatment for rupture, naturally favor operations. But few good physicians would ever advise an operation if they knew of the Cluthe truss and the world of good it has done. Just as no conscientious physician would ever think of sending anyone to the drugstore for a truss if he knew how much more beneficial a Cluthe truss is. Too bad, for the sake of their ruptured patients, that more physicians don't know the facts about this truss. Too bad the good news hasn't yet spread among all the profession. However, thousands of physicians all over the country are already familiar with the facts. Thousands have seen the folly of expecting ordinary trusses to do any good. Thousands now know that getting a Cluthe automatic massaging truss and our professional care and attention in connection with it is a vastly different thing than going to a drugstore for a truss. Just as calling in a physician and having him prescribe exactly what you need for typhoid, grip, nervous trouble, rheumatism, or other sickness is 100 times more likely to give you relief than if you go to a drugstore for some patent medicine. Cure-all. So far as we know, every physician who has impartially looked into the merits of the Cluthe automatic massaging truss and the care and attention we give has from that time on, unless operation was absolutely necessary, been advising a trial of the Cluthe truss in all cases of rupture which come under his charge. Among such physicians are many connected with hospitals, who almost invariably advise a trial of the Cluthe truss instead of an operation, just as they would prefer to cure appendicitis without an operation unless an operation seemed imperative. And many physicians, you'll find the names of some of them in the book, Your Neighbor's Word, are themselves wearing Cluthe trusses, or have worn them until cured. Ruptured people swindled out of thousands of dollars. Look out for the deceitful. Don't wear a truss. Arguments and the tricky, not a truss, claims. Get-rich-quick quacks are year after year humbugging ruptured people out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. The traps they set are cleverly baited. But the bait always consists of misrepresentation and tricky subterfuges. Some style themselves doctors, an insult to the medical profession. Some call themselves captain or colonel, an attempt to get the sympathy of Civil War veterans. Some try to work on your sympathies by telling you they were themselves formerly ruptured, that they got their knowledge of rupture by studying their own cases, that they made a special appliance for themselves. But a doctor or surgeon can't set his own arm. And no one can make a scientific study of his own rupture any more than he can perform an operation on himself. And some call themselves rupture or hernia specialists, but never specialized in anything except swindling ruptured people. Some of them make offers like free to the ruptured, so worded as to make a man think it means free cure. But all they send you free is a cheap little folder or circular. People who write to them soon learn to know better than to expect something for nothing. And some try to snare their victims with deceitful, don't wear a truss talk. Try to hoodwink you into thinking they have no truss to sell. Try to fool you with things they call appliances, methods, discoveries, etc. But the man who puts any faith in such claims soon finds that these so-called appliances and methods are nothing but an adaptation of the old-fashioned truss with belt, band, leg straps, springs, etc. Nothing but the most worthless kind of a truss masquerading under a misleading name. Some of these method concerns throw in some absurd kind of liniment, salve or ointment, tell you the secret lies in this, lymph, or whatever they call it rather than in their appliances. But that is nothing more nor less than the rankest kind of fraud. It is folly to suppose any salve, liniment, or medicine can possibly cure rupture. Might as well expect them to cure a broken bone. Though they can probably do as much good as the worthless appliances they come with. When you first apply this lymph or liniment, you may feel some stimulating effects, for these lymph sellers are always careful to tell you to rub the stuff in thoroughly. But the stimulation lasts only a few minutes, and is due to the rubbing and not to the liniment. If you rub with your fingers alone, without any liniment, it will do just as much good. This rubbing, while the stimulation lasts, simply proves the value of massage. For rubbing with your hands is, in a way, like the massage which the Cluthe Trust gives automatically. But the massage given by our trust is 100 times more invigorating and strengthening to the ruptured parts than any amount of hand rubbing. Our trust is giving the massage all day long, while rubbing with your hands can be done only once or twice a day at most, only when flat on your back, and only for a few minutes at a time. Some of these people claim they can cure rupture by means of a plaster, like the kidney plaster which proved worthless long ago. These plaster vendors are careful to avoid saying out and out in plain language that their plaster will positively keep your rupture from coming out. They make no direct promises or guarantee whatever of holding the rupture. If they cannot guarantee holding, it is nonsense to think any plaster can possibly overcome any weakness like rupture, no matter what kind of magical ointment there may be in the plasters. We have talked of these kinds of people in plain language. We have called a spade a spade. For it is nothing less than a crime the way these men have grown rich by defrauding ruptured people. It is worse than the way wildcat, mining, men have robbed the unsuspecting public. For these rupture swindlers take advantage of people's suffering. But it is easy enough to avoid being fooled, easy enough to guard against frauds and fakes. And it is easy enough to save yourself from throwing money away on drugstore trusses and other things which may be sold without wrong intent, but which are utterly incapable of doing any particular good. Simply make up your mind not to put any faith in anything whatever for rupture unless you can get the sellers to agree to let you test it on 60 days' trial and under the protection of a money-back guarantee. Make sure that everything is clearly understood, see that all agreements are plainly worded, insist on a signed guarantee that your rupture will be held or your money refunded. Any concern which makes or sells a truss or anything else good enough to stand that test doesn't need to resort to misleading claims or subterfuge or trickery of any kind. And that, a 60 days trial under the protection of our ironclad money-back guarantee, is the test we ask you to make of the Cluthe Automatic Massaging Truss. Showing how the Cluthe Truss is held in place without leg straps or other harness. 1. 2. 3. These illustrations show the free action of the rear or suction pads of the Cluthe Truss. The sole work of these pads is to support the frame which passes around the body. They hold the truss in position, so the rupture pads in front can't slip up or down or away from the rupture opening. These pads rest against the cushion of muscles behind the hips, the muscles forming the rump. The pads are hollow on the underside. This forms a vacuum or suction, which makes slipping or displacement impossible in any position. What we have done for 290,000 others. At this writing we have treated at our institute over 290,000 ruptures. These included all kinds and conditions. Some of them the worst cases in history. Many of these people, in despair, were at the point of undergoing an operation. But the Cluthe Trust made operation unnecessary, saved the big expense, saved the terrible risk. Among those we have fitted by mail are many infants from a few months to a few years old. And even these little ones wore the Cluthe Trust in absolute comfort while being made better, while being cured. We don't need to tell you it would be cruelty to put any other truss on children. We have fitted by mail men and women over 60, 70, and 80 years old. People who had been ruptured for from 20 to 50 years. People who had tried dozens of other trusses, but never found one that would hold. Some were in such bad shape, in such pain, that they hadn't worked for years. Some of them, before getting Cluthe trusses, couldn't walk more than 2 or 3 blocks without resting. Could hardly get around at all for fear of bad effects on their rupture. And the Cluthe truss, with its strengthening massage, has worked thousands of cures in cases apparently hopeless like these. While in those cases where cure wasn't brought about, or hasn't yet been, this trust kept the rupture from coming out, and made the rupture better. We keep in touch with all our patients. Our interest doesn't cease until we know they are getting along all right. Yet we have known of only a few cases, including the worst ones, where the rupture ever came out after the first few days' wear of this truss. Think of that, you who had almost given up hope. You can see for yourself what the Cluthe Trust has done by reading a few of the letters, all voluntarily written, which are printed at the back of this book. These letters are only a few out of the thousands we have received. Costs more to do without it than to get it. You will find it many times cheaper to get a Cluthe automatic massaging truss than to try to do without one. As long as you put up with worthless makeshifts, you are paying the price of a Cluthe truss over and over without getting any of its benefits. Probably paying its price again and again in time lost from work or business. For if your rupture never keeps you from putting in a full day, if you never find it a handicap, if it never keeps you at home in bed when you should be earning money, then you are far more fortunate than most ruptured people who don't wear Cluthe trusses. And as long as you try to get along with worthless makeshifts, you have to keep buying truss after truss, paying out dollar after dollar for new trusses to take the place of those which don't last and those which don't do any good, thus throwing away in a little while many times more than the price of a Cluthe truss. As long as you go without a Cluthe truss, your rupture keeps getting worse, probably worse now than a year ago, been getting worse every day. Thus again, you are constantly paying far more than the price of a Cluthe truss, paying it in wear and tear on your health, in the drain on your strength and vitality, in the loss of many of the enjoyments which help make life worth living. Without a Cluthe truss, your rupture is a constant worry. For a man has to be more optimistic than most ruptured people if he can look into the future without dread when he knows his rupture isn't getting any better. No man, especially one with a family to provide for, wants to let his rupture make him more or less helpless if there is anything he can do to prevent it. No man wants to be disabled for active work, no man wants to be dependent on others. That has been the fate of thousands who never knew of the Cluthe truss, or who didn't have the wisdom to try it. But you who read this, now that you know the facts, have absolutely no excuse for ever letting rupture get the best of you. No one's fault but your own, if you now let your rupture keep on growing worse. No one but yourself to blame if you don't take the chance we give you to find out, by trial at our risk, just what the Cluthe Trust can do for you. It will be our loss and not yours if this trust doesn't at least make you a whole lot better. But your loss, not ours, if you neglect to try it. Unless you have already let your rupture become permanently irreducible, the probabilities are that the Cluthe Trust can entirely free you from the clutches of rupture, just as it has thousands of others. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain by trying a Cluthe Trust. If it doesn't do any good, we'll take it back and you won't lose any money. If it does prove beneficial, it will in all probability last as long as you have any need for a truss. For it is mighty seldom that any part of a Cluthe truss ever gives out, even when, as in incurable cases, it is worn year after year. So once you get a Cluthe truss, you'll probably never have to pay out another dollar on account of your rupture. The Cluthe truss costs so little, only $9 to $14, that everybody not a pauper can easily afford it. Costs so little, when you consider the good it does, that no one can afford to go without it. You can get lots of trusses that cost less and some that cost even more, but one Cluthe truss is worth a dozen of them. Every thrifty man knows that good shoes, for instance, are more economical than cheap ones, for the cheap shoes soon go to pieces, soon get shabby. One good pair would outlast 3 or 4 of the cheap ones. Every man knows that good shoes, shoes that keep the feet dry, are less expensive in the end than shoes which leak and bring on colds and sickness. And every man knows that properly fitting shoes, shoes you can wear with comfort, are worth 3 or 4 pairs of shoes which hurt the feet. For no matter how little the uncomfortable shoes cost, you can't get your money's worth out of them if you can't wear them. Lots of people have common sense enough to think of all these things in buying shoes. But lots of them let their common sense go on vacation when it comes to buying trusses. Yet a truss is 100 times more important than shoes. Think how much depends on a truss: your comfort, your ability to make a living, your safety when working, even your very life sometimes, all depend on your truss. If your truss is no good, if it lets any little strain throw your rupture out, there is constant danger that some sudden wrench, some slip, some fall or misstep, may throw the rupture out so violently as to cause strangulation of the rupture. And that usually ends in quick death. But the man who wears a Cluthe truss has nothing whatever to worry about. For the Cluthe truss keeps the rupture from coming out, takes all danger out of work or exercise, takes all strain off the weak ruptured parts, rests them, and, by automatically massaging them, daily strengthens them. As the result of this constant hold, and in constant strengthening, rupture is not likely to give any more trouble from the day a Cluthe truss is put on. Just as weak eyes won't bother you any more after you get the right kind of glasses. The Cluthe truss or Cluthe automatic massager is the only truss in existence that can be depended on to do for rupture what good glasses do for the eyes. In the majority of cases, it does far more. About all that glasses can do is to keep the eyes from getting worse, take the strain off them, rest them, so they won't be further weakened. No one expects glasses to cure weak eyes. No one expects them to improve the sight so much that glasses won't need to be worn. But the Cluthe truss, in many cases, does cure rupture. You will see proof of that by reading some of the letters at the back of this book. And in those cases where it doesn't result in complete cure, it almost invariably makes the rupture better. If it doesn't do that, we are always ready to refund the purchaser's money, as fully explained in a later chapter. X-ray view of Cluthe truss. Note that there is no belt, elastics, or spring around the waist, and no leg straps. This truss can be worn in the bath, or when swimming. All parts are waterproof. This X-ray view shows how simple the Cluthe truss is, how few parts it has, its freedom from uncomfortable harness, and just how it looks when on. This view is taken from above, what is called a bird's eye view. The rear pads, suction pads, are level with the pads in front, the automatic acting holding or rupture pads, though they seem higher in the picture. Bear in mind that the frame you see in the picture is no way a spring or belt or band. It leaves the hips and spine free, doesn't press against the body at any point. This is shown more clearly by the cross-section view on page 58. The suction pads in the rear, which rest lightly on the rump, hold the truss in proper position, keeping it from slipping, shifting, or moving the least bit out of place. The only purpose of the frame is to connect the suction pads with the rupture pads in front, so the truss can hold you together. The truss shown here is for a severe case of right side groin or scrotal rupture. Has automatic acting holding or rupture pad on the ruptured side, and a free-acting protection pad on the side not ruptured, thus protecting the well side against strains, etc. For double groin rupture, another holding pad would be fitted where the protection pad is shown here. The Cluthe automatic holding pads are made in over 115 different shapes and sizes, and are selected as the severity and nature of each case may demand. We determine the true nature and real needs of the case from the answers given to the questions on our order blank, and then shape frame of truss so hips and spine will be left free from pressure, and select rupture pad or pads of the right size and shape, and set or adjust the truss so it will be self-regulating in the way necessary to automatically seal the rupture opening to give proper support, and to hold the rupture properly in place. The special advice you get in connection with the Cluthe truss. In every case, we give our complete professional services. Just as the physician gives thorough study and attention in connection with the medicine he prescribes. Our professional service gives you knowledge of your trouble, based on nature's laws, mechanical laws and common sense, which we have learned during our 40 years of day-after-day experience. As a part of our professional services, we give special instructions, confidential advice, based on the individual needs of each case. This confidential advice has to do with your general health, the length of time you have been ruptured, and other conditions having a direct bearing on your rupture. All this costs you nothing extra. And our special instructions and advice are no trouble whatever to carry out. Showing how the Cluthe truss can't rub, hug, pinch, squeeze, chafe, bind, or irritate. Cross-section view, showing how the frame of the Cluthe truss doesn't press against the body at any point. The Cluthe truss comes in contact with the body only at the rupture opening, where the holding pads support the rupture, and at the rear, where the suction pads rest against the muscles of the rump. While the frame doesn't press against the body, it fits so closely around the body that the truss won't show in any way under the clothes. No one can tell you have a truss on. Won't even bulge. A woman's corset won't interfere with the corset. Many acrobats wear this truss under their tights when performing, yet no one can see any sign of it, showing the simplicity of the automatic acting rupture pads and of the massaging device. Illustration at left shows holding pad in normal position. When you cough or strain, your abdomen naturally expands, pushing upper end of pad, where finger points in illustration at right, outward, thus forcing the lower part of pad, where arrow points, in against rupture opening. Because of this automatic action of the holding pad, your rupture can never come out. The simple mechanism shown on the inside of this pad, a device so small it would almost go in a watch case, is what makes the Cluthe holding or rupture pad automatic in its action, self-adjusting, self-regulating. And at the same time, this little device causes the holding or rupture pad to give the strengthening massage to the weak ruptured parts, all automatically or mechanically, like the running of a watch. But unlike a watch, this massaging device doesn't need to be wound up, never needs any attention whatever, and also unlike a watch, so strong and simple that it can never get out of order, never fail to work properly. Forms and conditions of rupture. The illustrations on following pages show various stages of the 4 common varieties of abdominal rupture. Groin rupture inguinal is the most common form. Scrotal rupture inguinal is simply a worse stage of groin rupture. The intestines have descended into the scrotum. Navel rupture umbilical is that form in which the opening occurs at or near the navel. Thigh rupture femoral is that form of rupture which appears at the upper part of the thigh. Any of these forms of rupture may appear on the right or left side or on both. Our experience has taught us that out of 100 cases of rupture, about 86 are groin or scrotal rupture. 13 out of each 100 are about evenly divided between thigh and navel rupture. And the remaining one may be one of several uncommon forms not mentioned here because they are usually the result of accident. About half of the cases of rupture occur in childhood. But there are many cases which occur between the ages of 30 and 40. And it is a well-known fact that 2/5 of such cases become scrotal because of neglect, or because a truss is worn that does not keep the rupture from coming down. All ruptures at the start are usually very mild in form. But if the ruptured parts are not held in place, the sac will gradually grow larger because of the failure to seal the originally small opening through which the intestines at first escape. This is something about which you who have been ruptured any length of time, you who know how rupture gets worse if not properly taken care of, should warn anyone you may know who has only recently been ruptured. You can save them years of suffering by telling them about the Cluthe truss. For it so often happens, due to the general ignorance about rupture, that newly ruptured people don't know their danger until too late. The rupture often gives so little trouble at first that they think it nothing to worry about. Or perhaps, also due to ignorance, they are ashamed to ask anyone's advice. So they go to a drugstore and get a worthless makeshift, and of course, wearing the cheap contraptions sold by drugstores, they soon find themselves in a serious state. There are 6 conditions of rupture. When the rupture can be pressed back into the abdomen by the ordinary manipulation of the fingers, it is a reducible rupture. This is the first condition, but without a proper truss it soon grows worse. When only a part of the contents of the lump or rupture sac can be pressed back into the opening, it is known as a partly reducible rupture. This condition is generally the result of neglect of the reducible rupture or the use of an improper truss. When at times the contents of the lump or sac cannot be pressed back into the body with the hands, it is known as a temporarily irreducible rupture. This temporarily irreducible condition can often be cured and always prevented from growing worse if the proper truss is fitted and worn. The foregoing condition sometimes becomes so bad that it is known as permanently irreducible. But even then it can usually be controlled, prevented from growing worse, if the right kind of truss is worn. The condition bordering on strangulation is known as incarcerated rupture. The only help for a person in this condition is an immediate operation. The worst condition of rupture is the strangulated form. This is a condition where mortification has already set in. If an operation is not immediately resorted to, the sufferer will die. Figure 1. Figure 1. Figure 2. Figure 2. Figure 3. Figure 3. Figure 4. Figure 4. Figure 5. Figure 5. Figure 6. Figure 6. These illustrations show growing rupture as it first appears, and how it gradually grows worse and descends into the privates, both male and female, when neglected or not properly protected, as when a worthless truss or other appliance is worn which frequently or occasionally lets the rupture come out. Figures 1 and 2 and 3 show the first 3 stages of growing rupture. Figure 4 shows growing rupture descended only to the privates. Figures 5 and 6 show the rupture after it has descended into the privates. Figure 7. Figure 7. Figure 8. Figure 8. Figure 9. Figure 9. Figure 10. Figure 10. Figure 11, at navel. Figure 11, at navel. Figure 12, at navel. Figure 12, at navel. Figures 7 and 8 and 9 show advanced stages of scrotal or growing rupture, getting worse all the time because not properly protected, because not kept from coming out, after it has descended into privates. The different stages are the same in females as in males. Figure 10 shows thigh or femoral rupture, which comes out on the upper part of thigh, just below the crease or depression between abdomen and thigh. Femoral rupture never appears higher up, never appears in groin, and never descends into privates. Figures 11 and 12 show 2 stages of navel rupture. For Cluthe navel truss, see page 64. We make the Cluthe truss with special holding pads that meet the requirements of every one of the foregoing conditions of rupture, save incarcerated and strangulated. With the exception of these 2 forms, we guarantee that the perfect truss with automatic massage treatment will constantly hold any rupture in place. Navel or umbilical rupture, which appears at or near the navel, demands immediate treatment. Neglect or maltreatment is liable speedily to treble the size of the rupture. We make a special Cluthe navel truss which has never in any case failed to improve the condition from the moment it was applied. Our navel truss does not bind the abdomen, allows perfect freedom, is light, clean and comfortable even in the hottest weather. It is the only successful holder for navel rupture, the only one that supports the overhanging weight in front without the use of torturing elastic fabrics. Cases of navel rupture demand special care, for hardly any 2 are alike. So we cannot prescribe for navel rupture until we know your condition. Simply write us stating whether the rupture can be fully reduced. If it can't, give size of part that cannot be reduced. If none of the forms of navel rupture shown on the order blank seems to be about the size of your rupture, and in the same location, please mark on the picture as nearly as you can the size and location of your rupture. On receipt of such report, we shall advise you as to the appliance needed and its price. For recurrence of rupture after an operation, we make the Cluthe truss with special frames and pads. For the requirements in each case are usually different. Simply fill out the order blank, and we will tell you just what you need and the price. Let us send you a Cluthe truss on 60 days trial. Won't cost you a single cent if you don't get better. We don't ask you to risk a single cent of your money in finding out what a Cluthe truss can do for you. We have so much faith in our truss, we know what it has done for so many others, that we are willing to make a Cluthe truss, as explained below, especially for your case, and let you wear it 60 days on trial. Think of that, reader! When you get a truss at a drugstore or truss dealer's, the only chance you have to make a test is while trying the truss on. But the 60 days trial we allow you certainly gives you plenty of time to make an absolutely thorough test, plenty of time to see whether the truss is doing any good, plenty of time to make sure that, with this truss on, your rupture can't come out, plenty of time to prove the wearing and waterproof qualities of our truss. 60 days is longer than lots of trusses or appliances would last. Longer than you could stand to wear any truss which pinches or squeezes or hurts in any way. We'll protect you by giving you our signed guarantee. This paragraph in itself is a guarantee that this truss will keep your rupture from coming out and improve your condition when put on and worn according to our simple directions. Guarantee it to prevent protrusion, not for just a few minutes at a time, but for all day long, including when you are working, exercising, taking a bath or swim. If, after fair trial, whether at the end of 10 days, 30 days, or 60 days, you find that the truss isn't holding your rupture, isn't helping you, simply let us know what the trouble is, and if we can't correct it, we'll promptly refund your money. Our willingness to let you try a Cluthe truss 60 days entirely at our risk is the best proof in the world of its merits. We could never afford to send you a Cluthe truss on such a long trial if there were any likelihood that it wouldn't prove beneficial, any likelihood that you would want to return it. But the Cluthe truss has been put to the test so many times, including hundreds of seemingly hopeless cases, that we know our faith in our truss is justified. Counting all the thousands of people who have placed themselves in our care, our records show that the cases in which a trial of the Cluthe truss failed to prove beneficial have averaged only 1 out of each 200. A really remarkable record. For among the people who have tried the Cluthe truss, among those cured by it, are hundreds who had been ruptured over 50 years. Note letters in back of book and the 5,000 names you'll find in Your Neighbor's Word. The law of averages always holds good. It is one of the most certain things in the world. And when 199 out of every 200 who have tried this truss were benefited, and many of them cured, you can see that there are mighty few people who can expect a Cluthe truss to do them a lot of good. Bear in mind that we aren't claiming that everyone who has tried a Cluthe truss has been completely cured by it. We would rather err by claiming too little than claim too much. Even a common cold, about the simplest of all human ailments, can't always be cured, can't always be so much as relieved or checked. That is why a cold, in spite of everything that can be done, so often develops into pneumonia, bronchial trouble, etc. But we do stand back of the Cluthe truss with an absolute guarantee that it will keep the rupture from coming out, enable you to work without danger, and result in improvement. Surely no man can expect a stronger guarantee, especially after what many have gone through with other trusses. Note that our guarantee is in plain, straightforward language. You know exactly what it means: no evasions, no subterfuges, an ironclad and absolutely legal guarantee. It is nothing like the tricky, hoodwinking guarantees which so many other concerns give. Beware of a so-called guarantee which merely reads, "This trust fully guaranteed." A guarantee, as any lawyer will tell you, isn't worth the paper it's printed on unless it guarantees something specific, such as holding. And it gives you no protection unless it guarantees your money back in case of failure. But our guarantee is a positive money-back guarantee. If the Cluthe truss fails to make good, then we will make good by refunding your money. You don't need to worry about that for a minute. No one dependent on the goodwill of the public could remain in business as long as we have, now over 40 years, and constantly gain new friends through the old, unless every customer received a square deal. Dishonesty would have driven us out of business long ago. We believe that our reputation for absolute fairness and honesty is as firmly established among people who have had dealings with us as the reputation of Wanamaker's or Marshall Field's. We are so seldom asked to refund money that it would be the height of folly to risk injuring our reputation for the sake of the few dollars represented by a Cluthe truss or even 1,000 trusses. If we were selling automobiles or shoes or hardware, our honesty would be taken for granted. But there has been so much trickery in the sale of trusses and other things for rupture that it is only injustice to ourselves that we mention our reputation. Remember that we protect you at every point. And our interest in your case won't cease until we know you are getting along all right. You'll always find us ready at any time to do everything within our power. So don't let another day go by without trying this truss which has done wonders for others. Remember that all money you pay is simply held on deposit until you have made the 60-day test. If you have any doubts about our responsibility, have your local bank look us up in Bradstreet's or Dunn's. See how little it costs to get relief. If you had to pay for the world of good a Cluthe truss does, the price would be many times higher. But we charge only for the materials and time which go into the truss, plus a legitimate profit. There is nothing fancy about a Cluthe truss, for you don't wear a truss for ornament. But the minute you see it, you will know you are getting your money's worth. It is the strongest truss ever made, and at the same time the lightest, also the cleanest, neatest looking. Made of the best materials we can buy, materials which will last. So well made that the cost of making a single part, such as one of the holding pads, the massaging device, or the self-adjusting feature, is greater than the cost of making most other trusses complete. So strongly made and so simply made that there is nothing about it likely to get out of order. We make the Cluthe truss or Cluthe automatic massager in 2 grades. Both are precisely the same in principle and in action. Both are fully guaranteed to hold your rupture securely. Both are perspiration-proof and both waterproof. The Cluthe truss, either grade, is the only truss made that you don't have to remove while taking a bath or swim, and that ensures perfect holding at such times as well as at all other times. Our grade is the best wearing truss, the most durable truss made. If you get this truss, you'll probably never need to pay out another dollar on account of your rupture. Frames and pads are both covered with waterproof vulcanized rubber, unless you prefer waterproof cushion holding pads. And now note that the Cluthe truss costs little or no more than many other kinds which are nothing but makeshifts. The price of grade A, for a single rupture, is $12. For double rupture, $14. Grade B, for adults with hip measurements 28 inches or larger, is $9 for a single rupture. For double rupture, $11. For children, up to 27 inches hip measurements, this grade for single rupture is $6. For double rupture, $8. Grade B will outlast a dozen ordinary trusses. But it isn't as durable as grade A. The frame is covered with special waterproof casing. Holding pads on grade B truss are the same as on grade A, vulcanized rubber or waterproof cushion pads. We advise grade A, simply because this is more durable. Both grades are for groin or scrotal rupture only. For navel rupture, or after operation, see page 64. In fitting either grade, we give equal attention and care, give you our complete professional services, special instructions and our confidential advice. And on both grades give you 60 days trial and the protection of our money-back guarantee. The prices quoted here are for mail order fitting only. Our charges for fitting by appointment at the Institute will be furnished upon request. Previous appointment for personal fitting at the Institute is absolutely necessary. Our terms are amount with order. As explained elsewhere, the amount is simply held on deposit until you have made thorough trial of the truss. Don't let yourself keep on getting worse. There's no better time than right now to put the Cluthe truss to a 60 days test. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till your rupture makes you absolutely helpless. Don't wait till good-for-nothing trusses cripple you up so you can scarcely drag around at all. Don't wait till it's too late for a Cluthe truss, an operation, or anything else to save you. Don't cheat yourself out of making a 60-day test of the Cluthe automatic massaging truss. Don't rob yourself of this chance to get relief without having to risk a single cent of your money. Even though you may think your condition is hopeless, don't let that keep you from trying a Cluthe truss. Don't let anything whatever keep you from finding out what this truss can do for you. Unless you are far worse off than most others who have tried this truss, you'll begin to get better from the day you put a Cluthe truss on. You'll have nothing more to worry about. You can work your hardest every day in the week. Take any kind of exercise. Take your bath or swim, etc., all without the slightest danger of forcing your rupture out. And no belt, band or springs around the waist, no leg straps, no pressure on the spine or the pelvic bone. Nothing that can squeeze, pinch or bind, nothing that can heat, chafe, itch or cut the skin, nothing that can irritate in any way. Constant holding every minute of the day, and day after day, and the soothing, strengthening, invigorating massage which the Cluthe truss automatically gives, will soon make a new man of you. We won't accept your order, won't take your money, if we don't think, after making a study of your case from the particulars you give when ordering, that a trial of our truss will prove beneficial to you. Your rupture will prove far worse than the average man's, your condition worse than that of 199 out of every 200 who have tried this truss, if the Cluthe truss doesn't do you a lot of good. Just give a few minutes' attention to the 5,000 voluntary endorsements of the Cluthe truss which you'll find in Your Neighbor's Word. See how many of the people whose names and addresses you'll find there live right in your own town, or county, or state. Read a few of the letters, all voluntarily written, which we print at the back of this book. See how many very severe cases have been completely cured by the Cluthe automatic massaging truss, many of them cases of from 30 to 50 years standing, many of these people cured, while working, remember, in from 3 to 10 months, many of them cured after everything else, including operation, had proved utterly useless. There isn't a single reason in the world for condemning yourself to drag through even another month with your rupture everlastingly bothering you. And not a single reason for longer enduring the curse of wearing a truss which is doing no good, or which hurts so it keeps you in constant misery. Every day that you remain at the mercy of a truss which either occasionally or frequently lets your rupture come out is simply a day of danger. You can gain nothing whatever by waiting, by trying to get along without a Cluthe automatic massaging truss. And you risk nothing whatever, not a single cent, by testing the Cluthe truss on 60 days trial. Better make the test right now. If you put it off, you simply face the danger of getting worse all the time. Cluthe Rupture Institute, Bloomfield, New Jersey, a suburb of New York City. How to order. First, decide which grade of the Cluthe truss you want to try. See pages 68 and 69. And please don't forget to enclose the necessary amount with your order. This amount, as explained elsewhere, will simply be placed to your credit and held as a deposit in your name while you are testing the truss on 60 days trial. The best way to send the amount is to get a draft at your bank, or get a post office money order or express money order. If currency is sent, be sure to register your letter. In ordering, please use the information or order blank which we enclose with this book. Be sure to sign your name plainly, and give your full address. Be careful to write out plainly as you can a full and complete answer to each of the simple questions we ask on the order blank. Remember that your answers guide us in determining the requirements of your case, the size and shape of holding pad or pads, the amount of support you need, and the point at which to set or adjust the truss so it will automatically give the right amount of support or holding power. If there is any further information you want to give us, write it in the space under Remarks on the order blank or on a separate piece of paper. If you happen to mislay the order blank, just use a separate sheet of paper for writing out your answers to the questions given below. Instead of taking the trouble to write out both questions and answers, merely give the answers alone, and number the answers 1, 2, 3, etc., to agree with the corresponding question. These questions are the same as on order blank. 1. Which of the figures shown on pages 62 and 63 most resembles your rupture, when fully out, on your right side? On your left side? 2. Give measurement around naked body in direct line over place where rupture first comes out. 3. Male or female? 4. Age? 5. Height? 6. Weight? 7. Occupation, and does your work require heavy lifting? 8. Where is your rupture located? State whether right, left, or both sides, or at navel. 9. If on both sides, which is worse and which harder to hold? 10. When rupture is out, how does it compare in size to pigeons, hens, or goose egg? If 2 ruptures, give size of each. 11. Has your difficulty been to get a truss to hold? 12. If male, does your rupture descend into the scrotum? 13. If unsuccessfully operated on for rupture, or if rupture is result of an operation, mark on a rough sketch or on a trace of the figure most resembling your rupture the comparative location of incision. 14. How many years ruptured? Address Chas. Cluthe and Sons, Bloomfield, New Jersey. Testimonials. Prominent Arkansas physician cured of rupture of 49 years standing in 8 months by Cluthe truss. With pleasure I beg to submit the following facts in my own case at which I was greatly surprised. I am 53 years old, and was badly ruptured when 4 years old, on both right and left sides. The right side rupture failed to be held by any and all kinds of trusses until I put on a Cluthe truss. I can now remove the truss and feel no symptoms of hernia. Now, how is this for a cure in 8 months? I take pleasure, as a physician and surgeon, in recommending the Cluthe truss to any and all sufferers from hernia. I have fitted Cluthe trusses on 4 other patients, 3 of whom are already well and the 4th greatly improved. You have my permission to use this testimonial as you please, and I hope it may be the means of others, suffering from rupture, resorting at once to a Cluthe truss. October 4, 1911. J. H. Spurgeon, M.D. Aurora Arc. From a prominent New York plumber. After trying a drugstore truss and a strap without getting either to hold my rupture, which was getting larger all the time, I tried a Cluthe truss, which has worked wonders in my case. In my work as a plumber, I have to get into every conceivable position, often tie up in a knot, as it were, but my Cluthe truss never failed, never shifted a fraction of an inch. I often go without my truss without the slightest sign of rupture or feeling of weakness. After what I suffered and considering the size of my rupture before I was lucky enough to hear of you, you can realize how strongly I can recommend anyone ruptured to send for a Cluthe truss and save the money he would waste in buying any of the makeshifts. December 22, 1911. Hugh J. Brady, 863 6th Avenue, New York City. This man, 72 years old, cured in a few months by Cluthe truss while at work. When I was first ruptured, I bought a truss and tried to wear it. This was fitted by a local dealer time and time again, but I could not wear it. I then tried another local dealer with the same result. I was then induced to try another truss but could not get any relief. Then I noticed your advertisement. It seemed impossible to me then that you could do by measurement, which I was to send you, what the local dealers could not do when I was personally present. However, I did send for your truss, expecting only to get a truss that I could wear with comfort. I wore it some months. After a while I would forget to put it on, and would go for a day or 2 without it. Each time I would go longer without it, then some weeks I discarded it entirely. I consider that I am entirely cured of my rupture. I cannot express to you how grateful I am to you, and without solicitation on your part when I am writing you this letter to show you my appreciation of your efforts. I am now 72 years of age, a mason by occupation, and am working every day. October 12, 1911. J. F. Byam, 701 Cherry Street, Rome, New York. This man from Missouri quickly cured by Cluthe truss. I gladly testify to convince people suffering from rupture that the Cluthe truss was a sure cure in my case. Experience has convinced me that if anyone ruptured will apply a Cluthe truss according to the directions, it means positive relief, and the only hope for a cure. I cannot recommend the Cluthe truss too highly. October 5, 1911. Chaz Becker, 3730 Marcus Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri. Ruptured for years, tried Cluthe truss, cured in 2 months. I had worn several kinds of trusses, which did me no good, but, on the contrary, made me worse all the time. I saw your truss advertised and sent for one to try. I felt better at once. I had suffered for years before, and wore the Cluthe truss a little over 2 months. Then I did not need a truss any more. Now, I feel all right, and if anyone wants to know what the Cluthe truss can do for rupture, refer them to me, and I will truthfully tell them what it has done for me. November 3, 1911. Orrin Bacon, RFD number 12, Aaron Road, Medina, New York. Cannot say too much for the Cluthe truss, which completely cured his rupture. I am more than glad to recommend your truss at any time. I cannot do too much for the Cluthe folks. My rupture is a complete cure, and I have you to thank for it. October 5, 1911. Alexander Brink, Matamoras, Pennsylvania. Cured of as bad a scrotal rupture as anyone ever had. I take pleasure in informing you that the Cluthe truss cured me of as bad a scrotal rupture as anyone ever had. I thank you for what you have done for me. December 3, 1911. Henry B. Palmer, 15 Fifth Street, Glens Falls, New York. This man 70 years old cured by Cluthe truss. I am glad to add my testimony as one who has been cured by the Cluthe truss. I did not get one with the expectation of being cured, as my rupture was very bad, and I was 70 years of age. I would advise any person, be they young or old, who are afflicted with rupture, not to delay trying a Cluthe truss and no other, for I have tried many of the others and found them of no good. December 2, 1911. Stephen E. Burgess, Canning, N.S., Canada. This New York City man has had no need for trusses for 2 years. My troublesome rupture was perfectly held in place from the day I wore my Cluthe truss until I found it unnecessary to longer wear the truss, and I have not had a truss on for nearly 2 years. I consider the Cluthe truss the best in the world, and I am glad to testify as per the above. December 22, 1911. Fred M. Williams, care of W. D. Power and Company, 601 West 33rd Street, New York City. Rupture now cured and has no more need of a truss. I have no more need of a truss of any kind, for I am entirely cured of my rupture, and the Cluthe truss did it. You can use this if it will help anyone else afflicted the same as I was. I haven't worn my truss for some time. December 29, 1911. L. H. Walcott, 509 East Oak Street, Massillon, Ohio. This Arkansas man cured by Cluthe truss after suffering 20 years. I cheerfully recommend the Cluthe truss to anyone suffering from rupture. It is the only one I have ever seen, had or heard of that does the work thoroughly. I am practically cured of my rupture through using the Cluthe truss, after having suffered for 20 years. It is because it is the only truss that will absolutely prevent the rupture from coming down. October 2, 1911. W. B. Curtis, Haines, Arkansas. Cluthe truss saves these two from surgeon's knife. My wife was saved from the knife after a wild midnight ride to the House of Mercy in an ambulance. We can never say too much for the Cluthe truss. My wife was ruptured for 11 years and suffered great pains at times. We are both nearly cured. She has worn her Cluthe truss since June of this year, and I have worn mine since last Christmas. Many thanks to the Messrs. Cluthe for their wonderful truss. September 26, 1911. Mr. and Mrs. D. Chamberlain, 272 So. Dalton Road, Pittsfield, Massachusetts. A man 79 years old practically cured in 3 months. I have worn your truss about 3 months, and it is worth its weight in gold. I believe I am cured. I forgot to put the truss on different occasions and did not notice my rupture or feel the slightest weakness. I am working every day. The other trusses I wore only made me worse. I shall still wear my Cluthe truss. I would not take any chances just now. I shall be pleased to recommend it to everyone ruptured. October 10, 1911. Joseph Dobinson, 381 Harvard Street, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Soon cured and never used truss since. I verily believe that your truss is the best of all the trusses made, for after less than a year's use of the Cluthe truss I laid it away and never had to use any truss since. Hoping that all who have suffered as I have in the past from rupture may find relief from this terrible affliction. October 3, 1911. J. C. DeMott, 5 West Long Avenue, Dubois, Pennsylvania. New lease of life for this man. I found the Cluthe truss as different from all other trusses as a scientific balance is to a vice. I am 70 years old and have always been unable to take long walks, but the first Sunday I had your truss I walked a mile to my house and felt so good that I walked 3 miles more. Prior to getting your truss I could not walk half a dozen city blocks without great distress. I wish you great success towards suffering mankind. September 6, 1911. John Devine, 1238 Wisconsin Avenue, NW, Washington, D.C. Had probably the largest display of trusses before he tried the Cluthe, which alone holds. Some months ago I was induced to make just one more venture in buying trusses. I admit that I had but mighty little faith, in fact I was well nigh discouraged. I had probably the finest and largest display of trusses of any man in the country, but none of them would hold my right side rupture. How thankful I am I tried just once more, and bought the Cluthe truss. It holds splendidly, and is so easy to wear that it gives me no trouble whatever. December 19, 1911. H. C. Vanderhoof, Belmont, New York. Man 76 years old cured. My rupture has been entirely cured by the Cluthe truss, and I have been without a truss for over a year. What this means, I alone can appreciate, as I am 76 years old. December 22, 1911. Chaz A. Stein, 210 Catherine Street, Elizabeth, New Jersey. Tried all remedies. only the Cluthe could cure him. After suffering 5 years from rupture and trying all the remedies and trusses I could get, all of them failed. Finally I ordered a Cluthe truss, and now I am entirely well. I cannot find words to praise the Cluthe truss high enough. Thanks to you for the benefits enjoyed from the best thing ever made for rupture. December 19, 1911. Elisha A. Hartman, Terra Alta, W.Va. This Brooklyn, New York man cured. Let ruptured people know that the Cluthe truss cured me of my rupture, and that I now have no need for a truss of any kind. December 22, 1911. George Diefenbacher, 90 Fountain Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. Now well and strong as she ever was. I want to thank you for your help. Your Cluthe truss has cured me completely. I am as well and strong as I ever was. You may use this, for I think anyone afflicted as I was would consider it a great blessing to know how to be cured without an operation. March 28, 1911. Mrs. Walter DeLong, 814 North Cherry Street, Galesburg, Illinois. Practically cured in a few months. My rupture is cured, thanks to your truss. I could take my truss off now, but I am going to keep it on a little while longer. October 4, 1911. D. M. Doherty, 532 So. Fairview St., Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. No more need for trusses now. After wearing truss about 6 months I found I did not need it any more and have used none since. From your grateful friend. October 29, 1911. Isaac H. Elliott, Waterbury, Vermont. This Texas engineer gets instant relief by Cluthe truss after suffering 35 years. I would not take $1,000 and do without your truss if I could not get another exactly like it. I was ruptured July 6, 1876, and have bought all kinds of trusses and things for rupture, but could never get one to hold me. My rupture had just about put me down and out, but now I can ride, lift, do any kind of work, get into all positions, and the Cluthe truss keeps me held without the slightest discomfort. Just think of it. I had suffered since the year 1876, and only since I have had my Cluthe truss did I get any relief. I am a railroad engineer and train man, a member of the B. of LF&E, and I am well known over much of Texas and Mexico. I cannot make my recommendation too strong. September 30, 1911. O. R. Irwin, Maybank, Texas. Practically cured, recommended friend delighted. My rupture has not been out since I got my Cluthe truss. Sometimes I have taken off my truss and walked around but do not see any indication of the rupture coming out. I suffered so much wearing ordinary trusses, which made my rupture larger and larger, that I do not feel like doing without your truss yet. I consider myself cured, but my truss feels so good I do not go out without it. Through my recommendation a friend got one of your trusses and he is delighted. October 4, 1911. W. W. Gardner, West Paris, Maine. Gained 60 pounds since Cluthe truss cured his rupture. The Cluthe truss positively cured me of a very bad rupture. I have gained 60 pounds since I was cured and am now in the best of health. January 6, 1912. W. H. Kammerer, 3842 North 6th Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Considers Cluthe truss more than a success in his case. I have worn about all kinds of things for rupture that have been made during the last 25 years and have spent lots of money on them, and can truly say I never had a moment's let-up of pain until I wore a Cluthe truss. After making the readjustment you advised I would not know I was ruptured, the truss has been so comfortable. Mine is a severe case of rupture, being quite large. Before I got your truss, my rupture would at times keep me in bed for days at a time. There is only one trouble with people who are ruptured. They are wrongly advised and fly to a druggist and buy a truss like a cigar. I have bought lots of them that way. Then they think all trusses are alike. When I read your advertisement, I had no more faith in you than in any of the rest of them that sell trusses under all sorts of different names. The result of my transaction with you, however, is that I consider that I drew a prize in my Cluthe truss, and I want to say that you are the first truss men that ever lived up to their agreement that I ever found. Your truss has held me from the day I received it, April 20, 1911. I could not walk a quarter of a mile before I got it, and could lift no more than a hod of coal. After I had the truss 2 weeks I could carry a barrel of flour. I have done my garden digging, mowed a lawn, and even raised a 30-feet ladder all alone. It would take more than $1,000 today to buy my Cluthe truss if I couldn't get another like it. That is how I value it. Before I tried your truss my body was full of callous places, made so by the other appliances I wore, but they are all gone now, thanks to the Cluthe truss. I feel better today than I ever have in years. I have written you to some length, but I do it with pleasure. January 1st, 1912. John C. Bailey, 75 John Street, Newport, Rhode Island. Counts himself lucky in having heard of Cluthe truss. I can assure you I count myself lucky in having answered your advertisement, which I saw in an old paper, for I owe my present cure to you, and I thank you heartily. I will be glad to speak a word of recommend whenever possible, for I know you are doing good work for humanity. October 13, 1911. Walter Francine, Woodhull, Illinois. Now safe and sound and needs no truss. I wish to say that your truss has effected a permanent cure of my rupture. I have lately gone without my Cluthe truss without the slightest trouble or inconvenience. October 13, 1911. Louis Friday, for Steuben Street, Schenectady, New York. Believes he is cured by Cluthe truss. I believe I am cured, but as I am doing heavy work I am not going to take the chance just yet to prove it, until I have lighter work to do. September 26, 1911. James W. Grant, Creede, Colorado. Worst ruptured man in town completely cured in 5 months. Have been thinking for some time about writing you, how the truss I got of you last April was working. I am happy to inform you that I could throw the truss off altogether without any danger of my rupture coming out. It was said that I was the worst ruptured man in town. It was almost as large as a coconut. I could not get a truss that would hold it up. I could not go anywhere. I was in pain most of the time. The doctor told me I could never get a truss that would hold me. Several times my daughter went to the phone to call the doctor to operate on me, but the Cluthe truss saved my life. I would have paid any money for it. I recommended your truss to my brother-in-law and received a letter from him yesterday in which he says that it is the best investment he ever made. What I write you I can truthfully tell to anyone ruptured. You can use this letter as you see fit. October 4th, 1911. J. H. Goddard, 747 East Main Street, Ravenna, Ohio. Glad to pass this cure on to anyone afflicted. Before using the Cluthe truss I had a rupture that was never in place. It troubled me in a great many ways, and it was also very sore at times. I had to put my hand in my pocket and push the rupture back into place repeatedly during the day, and glad to state that the Cluthe truss cured this troublesome rupture, and I am only too glad to pass your cure on to some person who is afflicted as I was. October 20th, 1911. W.M. Hunter, 101 Cleveland Street, Central Falls, Rhode Island. This man cured by Cluthe truss after 14 years of suffering. I can never forget the good the Cluthe truss has done for me. After 14 years of suffering I tried the Cluthe truss, which entirely cured me. It is now 3 years since I have worn any truss at all. It took your truss only 1 year to cure me and make a new man of me, after everything else I tried had failed. January 1st, 1912. Daniel R. Wright, Little Neck, LI, New York. Another of the thousands of New Yorkers cured by Cluthe truss. I have not worn my Cluthe truss since last June, and have been doing hard work and heavy lifting without even feeling the strain of work. In fact, I feel just as if I had never been ruptured or worn a truss in my life. December 28, 1911. Louis Burnett, 443 Estiennes Avenue, Bronx, New York City. Cluthe truss the only relief after suffering and searching 35 years. I had been ruptured all my life and am now 35 years old and never could get anything that would give me relief from my rupture sufferings until I got a Cluthe truss. Today I could go without my truss, because it has cured my rupture. October 4th, 1911. W. R. Buck, Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Cured by Cluthe truss, his rupture no longer appears. I will gladly do anything in my power to help another sufferer. That is why I can say to all that the Cluthe Trust is the easiest trust to wear I ever had, and I have tried many. My rupture has not appeared for the last 2 months, so the prospects are that I am cured. September 29, 1911. Adam Brem, 609 No. Garfield Avenue, Burlington, Iowa. Has not worn a truss for 2 years and is as sound as he ever was. The Cluthe Truss is the best thing for rupture that I ever heard of. It cured me of my rupture completely. I have not worn a truss of any kind for 2 years, and am as sound today as I ever was, all through the use of your truss. December 26, 1911. James H. Radenbaugh, 162 Bayway, St. Elizabeth, New Jersey. The Cluthe Truss entirely cured him. I wish to state that your truss has entirely cured my rupture. You may refer any person to me at my address. October 19, 1911. H. Crane, 26 Minders Street, Schenectady, New York. Has not needed or worn any truss for months. I have not had my Cluthe Truss on for the last 4 months, and my rupture has not shown or bothered me in the least. Your truss has certainly cured my rupture. I had 3 other kinds of trusses before I got yours and could not wear any of them, because they hurt me so. October 13, 1911. Irvin S. Cole, RFD No. 3, Norwich, New York. Says law should be passed to stop sale of drugstore trusses. Your truss has cured me. At least my rupture never comes out when I have the truss off for 2 or 3 hours at a time. I think your truss is the only perfect device for rupture made. There ought to be a law passed prohibiting drug stores from selling those so-called trusses that don't hold or give a man a minute's peace. October 26, 1911. J. C. Houseman, 813 No. 18th Street, East St. Louis, Illinois. This retired railroad man cured by Cluthe Truss. Used my name in the hope that it may benefit someone afflicted as I was, but now restored. October 26, 1911. H. B. Hammond, Bristolville, Ohio. Believes he is cured after a few months' wear. I have not missed wearing my Cluthe Truss a day since I got it. I believe I am cured, but as I had so much trouble before I got your truss, I thought I would wear it a little longer, as it does not bother me in any way. October 9, 1911. A. S. Holloman, Trimble, Tennessee. Says results have proved good judgment of his faith in the Cluthe proposition. I could not exaggerate the facts in connection with the great good secured to me from the use of the Cluthe Truss. I have had more pleasure in life since using your truss than during all the 50 or more years before. The very minute I read your proposition I knew you were on the square and on to your job, and I made no mistake in my judgment. November 18, 1911. Chas. W. Shivel, care of West Hotel, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Wonderfully benefited. I have been wonderfully benefited, perhaps cured, by using the Cluthe Truss, and would suggest to every sufferer from rupture to throw away all other trusses and secure a Cluthe, as they cannot possibly make a mistake in its use. My truss is as good now as the day I received it from you. October 4, 1911. J. C. Hirschberger, West Church Street, Williamsport, Maryland. Feels no trouble whatever from either rupture. I still wear the double truss I purchased last March. I think I am cured, as I feel no trouble whatever from either rupture, but the truss is so comfortable I have continued to wear it. September 30, 1911. C. A. Hazen, Woodsville, New Hampshire. This Newark, New Jersey, man cured of worst kind of scrotal rupture by the Cluthe Truss. Your great truss cured me of a scrotal rupture of the worst form, after years of suffering, having tried at least 20 other makes of trusses, etc., which did me no good except caused me more suffering. I wish you continued success in aiding suffering mankind. December 29, 1911. F. A. Zipf, 47 Titchener Street, Newark, New Jersey. Cluthe Truss freed him from pain at once, now cured. I feel I am cured of my rupture but continue to wear the truss for protection. I never had any benefit whatever from any other appliances I ever tried. In regard to the Cluthe Truss, I feel as though I was in heaven, as it were, as it freed me from pain at once. December 23, 1911. John B. Tiger, 829 East Jersey Street, Elizabeth, New Jersey. The Cluthe Trust the only help he found for his rupture. I will gladly tell anyone suffering from rupture that I am more than pleased with my Cluthe Trust. Of all the things I have tried for my rupture, the Cluthe Trust is the only thing that ever helped me. I believe it will cure me entirely. I have not felt the slightest pain since I put the truss on. September 22, 1911. W. F. Boston, 1113 Oregon Street, South Muscatine, Iowa. Found Cluthe Trust a godsend. I have worn your best grade truss since last March. It has given me perfect satisfaction as well as to my friend, Mr. R. M., a man 82 years old, to whom I recommended your truss. Before I tried yours I wore one ordered by my physician. It caused me great suffering, and I was unable to do any lifting or stooping whatever. The doctor then informed me no truss could help me. I then happened to hear of the Cluthe Truss, which I ordered and has been a godsend to me. I am able to work every day. You can use this letter in any manner you see fit. September 26, 1911. Fred A. Halbert, 716 Logan Street, La Crosse, Wisconsin. But for Cluthe Trust, probably would not have lived to write this. To be honest with you, I don't believe I would be here to write this if it had not been for the Cluthe Trust. Can truthfully say I have been wonderfully benefited, and feel as though my rupture is cured. I strongly advise all ruptured people to try the Cluthe Trust and be convinced. October 3, 1911. E. Johnson, RFD No. 2, Haviland, Kansas. Prominent Saratoga, NY, man cured of long-standing rupture in 1 year. My case was a severe scrotal one, with ruptures on both the right and left sides. It had been in peril of my life for a number of years, receiving no relief from different trusses which I tried. Fortunately I learned of yours, and now after only a year's use, I am completely cured. October 6, 1911. B. F. Judson, veteran of Civil War. Ex-postmaster of Saratoga Springs for 18 years. Publisher and proprietor of Daily, Saratogan, for 25 years. Saratoga Springs, New York. Was a godsend to him. The Cluthe Trust I purchased of you was a godsend to me. I found that it did all that you led me to believe it would do. September 29, 1911. Herman Lole, 4111 Humboldt Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Cured in 8 months. I can truthfully say I am a well man. You may, with the greatest of pleasure, use my testimony it if will help anyone who is afflicted with rupture, and I will do all in my power to induce others that I know and suffer as I did before I was wise enough to try the Cluthe Trust. May God crown you in all your efforts, and give you great success. November 3, 1911. F. Dudley Knapp, Housatonic, Massachusetts. Cured his rupture, and also his friends. In justice to you I will state that I am permanently cured, by use of your truss, and have not been very quiet in recommending your treatment to others similarly afflicted. A neighbor sent for your truss at my solicitation, and he tells me that he, too, is completely cured. We fully appreciate the great good you are doing. October 4, 1911. A. W. Ketty, Quincy, California. 9 months of Cluthe Trust comfort cures this man. I must thank you for all the good your truss has done me. Since wearing your truss, I have felt like a different man. I have worn it only 9 months, and can truthfully say that I am completely cured of my rupture. October 13, 1911. Frederick L. Klingler, Rexburg, Idaho. This Missouri doctor cured. I believe my rupture is cured, although I have worn the Cluthe Trust only about 3 or 4 months. I have not lost a day out of the saddle since I received the truss. Before I could only walk my horse with other trusses I wore, but with my Cluthe I could ride just as well as I could before I was ruptured. Yours is so perfectly easy one does not know one has it on. I will be 73 years old next month. I cannot speak too highly of your truss. I don't see how it could be improved upon. From my own personal experience, I would say that anyone ruptured who follows your simple directions, is on a quick road to complete recovery the moment he wears a Cluthe truss. November 10, 1911. Dr. D. J. McConaughey, New Bloomfield, Missouri. This Oregon man cured. I am almost sure I am cured. Your truss is so easy that I feel lonesome lost unless I have it on. Consequently, I wear it most of the time. I tried 5 different kinds before I was fortunate enough to hear of the Cluthe truss. I am doing a little missionary work for you all the time in appreciation of the great good your truss did for me. October 10, 1911. C. E. Maxon, Harrisburg, Oregon. Thinks Cluthe cure a great thing. I think I am permanently cured. I cannot recommend your truss too strongly to anyone I know who has a rupture. Some of my neighbors have already sent to you for advice and treatment, and others will do so soon. I consider the Cluthe cure a great thing. November 21, 1911. S. L. Lee, Quincy, California. Quick cure by Cluthe truss. I have had my Cluthe truss only 2 months, and believe I am cured right up. I can honestly say that your truss has done for me what no other truss ever did, that is, hold the rupture up, and to think that it even cured me. Of course I shall continue to wear the truss some time, although no rupture shows when I leave the truss off. I believe your truss is sure to cure most people with rupture, if they would only buy it. November 16, 1911. James T. MacDonald, 45 St. Patrick St. Goderich, Ontario, Ken. Has not had to wear any truss for years. I am sure my rupture, which was cured by a Cluthe truss, will never come out again, now after so long. I have been without pain for years. I have gladly recommended the Cluthe truss at all times, for I know what wonders your truss did in my case. October 19, 1911. John M. MacDonald, 30 Union Street, Dominion No. 1, NS, Can. Tried all kinds, but only the Cluthe cured. I purchased your truss about 18 months ago. It cured my rupture. Previously I had tried all kinds of trusses, but it remained for the Cluthe truss to cure me. It is the only one worthy of the name. October 18, 1911. John McNamara, 861 West Main Street, Greenfield, Indiana. This British Columbian man cured. I can go about without my truss, but I wear it at my work, as I feel safer with it on. I find it most comfortable. October 17, 1911. Thomas Milburn, Victoria, BC, Ken. Cured for good. I cannot speak too highly of the Cluthe truss. It has stood by me constantly, while before I got your truss I could get nothing that would give me any relief. Yours has done the work, for I believe that the rupture is entirely healed. October 13, 1911. Frank Mixer, RFD No. 1, Box 12, Whittier, California. Practically cured in 5 months. Your truss has done me more good in 5 months than all the others I wore before I got the Cluthe truss. I put it on the 20th of May, and from that time to this the rupture never showed. I now know that my rupture is completely cured, because I have not worn the truss for weeks, and feel no weakness on account of not wearing it. Let any ruptured man know what I write here, hoping the giver of goodwill will always smile on me. October 13, 1911. J. L. Moss, Atwood, Allah. Cluthe truss hangs in closet while he does his work, cured. I can truthfully say I am cured by the use of your truss. I believe it is the best truss ever invented by man. It did for me just what you said it would. My truss is now hanging up in a closet in my house, and I don't have to use it at all. Anyone can write to me if they don't believe what you say. So give this to the suffering people of this land, for why should it not do for thousands of others what it has done for me? October 13, 1911. J. W. Mitchell, Olympus, Texas. Ruptured 10 years, cured by Cluthe truss. I had suffered for 10 years, and will admit that when I purchased your truss I did not expect it to cure me, for the reason that I had been disappointed by so many different makes or makers. I shall gladly recommend the Cluthe truss to anyone that I shall come in contact with, who is suffering with a rupture. October 6, 1911. E. Scott Morgan, 5619 Georgia Avenue, Washington, D.C. Doctor says in 6 months will be entirely cured. My ruptures are so now that they do not come down without the truss, but my doctor says to wear it for 6 months longer, and then I will be able to go without the truss altogether. I have only had the Cluthe truss 4 months. September 27, 1911. Mrs. J. G. Miller, 1104 7th Avenue, Seattle, Washington. Cluthe truss makes him a different man. I do not know how to express my gratitude to you. Money could not buy my Cluthe truss from me. My health is so much better and I feel so different than I used to before I purchased your truss. I was always afraid to go ahead and do any work, fearful of the consequences. But now I never think of it, for I feel absolutely safe. I am confident that if I knew about your truss sooner than I did, I would be a well man today. October 2, 1911. Charles McDonald, Sheridan, Oregon. Tried the whole category of trusses, and finds only Cluthe makes good. It gives me much pleasure to state the truth about the Cluthe truss. I found it the best truss I ever tried, for I have tried about the whole category of trusses, and no truss ever did me any real good until I purchased this one, which I have worn for about 4 months with comfort. I have not had a moment of trouble with my rupture since putting the Cluthe truss on. I believe myself to be cured. I have worked hard all the time, doing work that I could not have done before I had my Cluthe truss. October 3, 1911. Hudson Mills, Hoosier, Can. Almost cured in 3 months. I am almost cured already, although I have worn the truss only 3 months. My rupture has not been out since I put the truss on. It certainly was a godsend to me when I got your truss, and I cannot recommend it too highly. September 25, 1911. A. L. Myers, Ilwaco, Washington. Took 6 months to cure this rupture. I am glad to state that after wearing your truss since last February I feel I am cured to stay cured. As my work requires heavy lifting, I still use the truss while working, but at all other times I never have it on. I have not had to wear it for the last 3 months. The truss is just as good as the day I bought it. October 25, 1911. O. Norbeck, 1079 17th Avenue, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Cured in 5 months. I purchased my Cluthe truss last February, wore it 5 months, and have not had to wear any truss since. From the first day I put it on to this present day, the rupture has never been out or bothered me in any way, and I have done lifting and all kinds of heavy work all this time. So I have reason to feel sure I am cured. September 30th, 1911. Charles T. Nass, Robinson's Corner, N.S. Ken. Cluthe truss does what physician advises only surgical operation could do. I have been so greatly benefited by your truss that I feel myself practically cured. I suffered 16 years and tried many different trusses during that time. Physicians advised me to go through an operation. Your truss gave me relief the first day. I cannot speak too highly of it. I cannot recommend it too strongly to anyone afflicted. October 4th, 1911. Zephaniah Parks, RFD No. 1, Saco, Maine. Never saw rupture since wearing Cluthe truss. My rupture has never come out since I got the truss, and I have often left my truss off all day without any signs of the rupture showing. Before I got the Cluthe truss I suffered all the time, but yours gave me comfort from the moment I tried it. October 4th, 1911. James Naylor, East Arrow Park, BC, Ken. Cured in less than 4 months. I have had your truss less than 4 months, and have been able to go without it for a week at a time, without the rupture coming down. So I think I am about cured, with many thanks to you. September 25, 1911. W. H. Neal, 136 Race Path Street, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Man 72 years old cured. I take pleasure in aiding all my friends who are ruptured. I am entirely cured, and do not need to wear a truss now. I am 72 years old. One man to whom I recommended the Cluthe truss says he would not take $150 and be without his truss, if he could not get another. Use my recommendation any time. October 20th, 1911. J. A. Price, 906 Cruz Street, Corinth, Miss. This case of double rupture cured. Am writing you to let you know what your truss has done for me. My ruptures are both healed up perfectly sound. They do not bother me in the least. I cannot say enough for the Cluthe Trust. You have my permission to use this letter, and I would be glad to make affidavit to it, if you wished. September 23, 1911. Hiram Pierce, Watervliet, Michigan. Another of the thousands of Kansans cured by Cluthe Trust. I go weeks at a time without the trust, but when I am at heavy work I keep it on as a wise precaution. I would not take many times what it costs for it. I am more than satisfied with your treatment of my case. November 18, 1911. W. E. Crowell, Riley, Kansas. Entirely cured. I wish to say that I consider myself most fortunate in having heard of the Cluthe Trust. It has entirely cured me of my rupture. October 23, 1911. Ernest Ruemelin, Ashton, Rhode Island. Never spent any money in his life that did him so much good. I was ruptured for 6 years and never got anything that did me any good in that time till I got this trust from you. I tried everything I heard of before I got my Cluthe Trust. I am now about well, but I still wear the trust when doing heavy work. I never spent any money in my life that did me so much good. October 10, 1911. Charles Riley, Northsburg, Cal. Saved from an operation, costing at least $300, by the Cluthe Trust. I am getting along finely. I have only worn the trust a few weeks, and would not expect a cure of my case so soon. I work about 14 hours a day, and am on my feet all day long. I never have the least trouble with the trust, and would not sell it for any money. It saved me from an operation costing at least $300. I wish you all the success you deserve. September 29, 1911. Jack Roth, Lamars, Iowa. Ohio minister cured. I still wear my Cluthe Trust, though I am cured, as it gives me no uneasiness or discomfort. October 19, 1911. Rev. A. N. Smith, Van Buren, Ohio. Prominent Arkansas man quickly cured. It is only injustice to you, and a great pleasure to me that now after wearing your trust for 90 days, to say that I find my rupture back in place, and that it does not come down without the trust. However, I have thought it best to wear it for a while longer, believing that my case, a double rupture of 50 years standing, is practically cured. I am 67 years of age, and during that time I have tried over 25 different trusses and treatments for rupture. October 13, 1911. A. H. Sockland, ex-postmaster of Stuttgart, Arkansas, and past Department Commander GR of Arkansas, Stuttgart, Arkansas. Only real device for rupture made in the world. I wish to state a few facts concerning your trust. It is the only real device for rupture made in the world. It cured me. I don't know what I would have done if I had not heard of the Cluthe Trust. November 9, 1911. George Story, 17, West 4th Street, Jamestown, New York. Considers Cluthe Trust a wonder. The trust I purchased from you about 6 months ago is a wonder. It has me about cured. You can use my name whenever and wherever you wish, and I will help any person that suffers with rupture anywhere in the city of Chicago or any other city that writes me to verify this statement. October 3, 1911. Charles C. Schmidt, 2275 Archer Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Cured in 7 months while indulging in athletic sports. I had tried several so-called trusses with poor results up to last May, when you fitted me, and I can positively state that from that day my rupture has not been down since. I indulge in athletic sports, in swimming and bathing, and wore your truss in the water with no inconvenience whatever. I feel confident that I am now entirely cured of my rupture, and write this hoping that some afflicted brothers may take advantage of your grand invention. You may use the above for recommendation if you wish. Frank A. Plunkett, 25 Water Street, New York City. Absolutely cured by the Cluthe Trust. About August 1909, I began using your truss for rupture. With it life was not such a misery as all my other trusses had made it. Some months thereafter I took the truss off and found I was completely cured. And herewith greetings and heartfelt thanks, for I know your members to be great benefactors to suffering humanity. Before I bought my Cluthe Trust I was examined by 2 doctors. One would cure me with the knife for $200 and $25 per week while in hospital, and the other, by injection, for $150, and he would also use some form of spring truss. You are at liberty to use these few words any way you wish. D. A. Ross, RFD number 3, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Doctor who was to operate calls it perfect cure by Cluthe truss. I am perfectly cured by wearing one of your trusses. My rupture was as large as a goose egg, and was out all of the time. I put your truss on and kept it on for 100 days, and when I took it off the rupture was all healed up and cured. The doctor who was going to operate on me called it a permanent cure. October 6, 1911. Charles E. Roberts, 720 Calvert Street, Rome, New York. Proof of permanency of cure by Cluthe truss. Please send me an order blank for a friend. It may interest you and others to know that I purchased a truss of you many years ago, which cured me. L. E. Drake, Bellevue, Alta, Canada. Cured by Cluthe truss in 6 months. Your truss is all you claim for it. I have had the truss about 6 months, and never had any symptom of trouble since then. I am now cured and will only be too glad for you to refer anyone to me for any reference you want. I tried many other trusses with no relief. Those afflicted should not delay in getting your truss. G. P. La Follette, 289 Edith Avenue, Memphis, Tennessee. Blacksmith cured while doing his work. I bought one of your trusses about 8 months ago and am more than pleased with results. I have worked hard, even at horseshoeing, every day since I put the truss on, but in spite of all that it cured me of my rupture. Philip Pagreba, Delano, Minnesota. Cluthe truss cured this Californian 76 years old. I am glad to have the opportunity of letting the public know of the benefit I received from the truss purchased from you. It is all you claim for it, for my left rupture is now cured and the one on the right side almost well. I am past 76 years old, but I felt all of 10 years younger from the day I commenced using your wonderful truss. I shall be indeed glad to impart to those who suffer as I did any information I can give regarding the Cluthe truss. W. L. Notley, 63 Pearl Street, Santa Cruz, California. Now over 81 years old, was cured by Cluthe truss. My rupture is all well and the cure is complete, but I keep the truss on day and night because I am over 81 years old, and might take a fit of sneezing. With many thanks for your kindness. G. A. P. Bryant, RFD number 1, Smyrna Mills, Maine. This Chicagoan cured in 3 months. After I had worn your truss 3 months, I noticed that the rupture did not appear as formerly on retiring at night. An instance. My cat had a fit one night. I jumped out of bed very hurriedly, grabbed the cat, rushed down 2 flights of stairs and threw the cat out on the porch. When I returned to my room I thought of the truss, not having thought to put it on before going downstairs, was overjoyed to find that there was no sign of the rupture. This was several months ago, and there has been no return of the rupture since. Would be pleased to recommend the Cluthe truss at any time. Robert Stewart, Western Bank Note Company, 20th Street and Indiana Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Cured by Cluthe truss while sawing and chopping wood. My rupture has never bothered me since I started to wear the Cluthe truss. I found it to stay in place just as you recommended it, while at hard work such as sawing and chopping wood, digging and carpenter work. I thank you for the great good and the cure it has effected for me. Enos Monroe, Winchester Springs, Ontario, Canada. Cured, and cannot recommend it too highly. I was more than satisfied with my Cluthe truss. It cured me of my rupture and cannot recommend it too highly. Daniel Bowen, 63N, 9th W, Salt Lake City, Utah. This scrotal rupture cured. The truss I bought of you less than a year ago has been a wonderful success. I am now entirely cured of my scrotal rupture. Isaac Schittler, 316 Market Street, Logansport, Indiana. Has worn Cluthe truss only 6 weeks and fast getting well. I have worn the Cluthe truss 6 weeks and am fast getting well. Can't see or find anything of my rupture now, but shall wear truss longer. The elastic truss that I used to wear got so wet on the body that I had to tighten it up to get it to hold, only to have it fail me later in the day. Mr. Fitzgerald has also been greatly benefited by his truss he got from you. Roland T. Ellis, 141 Albion Street, Somerville, Massachusetts. No more sign of a rupture. I am now well and don't see any signs of being ruptured, thanks to the Cluthe Trust. George Daly, RFD No. 1 Osco, Illinois. Cured while doing heavy work. I felt like a different man the very first week I wore my Cluthe Trust, and it has done me so much good that I can safely leave it off entirely. However, I take no chances, and being so comfortable and easy, I put it on when I have extra heavy lifting to do in the course of my heavy work. I have spoken to many of my friends about the wonderful Cluthe Trust. John Holdorf, 119 North and Street, Baltimore, Maryland. From one who has tried them all. I write to let you know that I cheerfully recommend the Cluthe Trust for rupture. It does all you claim for it. I had been ruptured for many years and tried all kinds of trusses and rupture cures but found no relief until I used yours. John Coughlin, National Soldiers Home, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Thanks God daily for the Cluthe Trust. This is simply to inform you that I must every day when I put your trust on thank God for having found something which is not a fraud but a blessing to all ruptured people. The Cluthe Trust enables me to take my place among men, either in running, jumping or other hard work. It is safe and comfortable and I would not be without it, knowing the Cluthe Trust existed. James Chambers, Bequitlam, BC, Canada. What this Kansan says. I will say your trust has helped me very much. Believe I am now cured for sure as the rupture does not come out now when the trust is off. It is the best thing I ever tried. Will tell everyone suffering from rupture to try this trust. J. C. S. of my town sent for one through me. You can use my name. William Sterling, Harrington, Kansas. Recommends Cluthe Trust to all. I think it my duty to notify you that the Cluthe Trust you made for me was indeed a great success. My rupture has disappeared and I am so far cured. I certainly recommend the Cluthe Trust to all in need of relief from rupture. Jacob Strauss, 215 Cooper Avenue, Lockland, Ohio. This Philadelphian cured in less than 8 months. It gives me great pleasure to write you a few words of commendation in reference to the trust I purchased from you in March, 1910. I, at first, doubted its full value as I thought my rupture was incurable, but subsequent results have proved my error. Ever since my birth I have endured the pains and torture of a rupture until I started to wear your trust, which was nearly 8 months ago. I am now entirely cured of my rupture, thanks to the Cluthe Trust. Gentlemen, I thank you very much for your able advice and assistance, as you have made me feel like a new man after all these years of misery. You may use anything I have written, as I like to encourage a good deed. Lawrence V. Rash, 2018 South 64th Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Read what this Massachusetts physician says. I am much interested in making known the excellence of the Cluthe Trust, for I have confidence in its curative process. You can refer to me any time you desire, not only as to the worth of your trust but also as to the fair dealing you manifest toward your patients. Dr. G. J. Pierce, 1 Crown Street, Worcester, Massachusetts. Ruptured 30 years, believes he is now cured. I have been ruptured for 30 years and have worn a good many kinds of trusses and I never got one that did not nearly kill me at times. My doctor has been trying for years to have me undergo an operation, and I nearly made up my mind to have an operation when I saw your advertisement in the Chicago Tribune. I decided to try once more to get a truss, and after thinking about it, and putting it off for 6 months I finally purchased one of your trusses 3 months ago. If I had only sent for one when I first started I would not need to wear a truss now. My rupture was a large one and since wearing your truss the rupture has never been out. I can now stand on my feet without the truss on and rupture does not show. The opening seems to be closed. I feel so grateful for the relief that I cannot help but thank you and any time you wish to have anyone call on me I will gladly recommend you. W. H. Bruce, 204 East 54th Street, Chicago, Illinois. Proof of permanency of cure by Cluthe Trust years ago. The trust purchased of you years ago gave me permanent relief and cure. While I was always skeptical as to a permanent cure of rupture by means of a trust, the fact remains that after following your advice and instruction, I have been going about without a truss, doing all kinds of work same as I did prior to becoming ruptured. I cheerfully recommend your trust to one and all afflicted with rupture. Only the patient himself knows from experience how he has to suffer. Publish this letter if you so desire. J. Lineberger, Route No. 1, Souderton, Pennsylvania. Now freed of his rupture trouble. I was in awful misery before I ordered a Cluthe truss, and as soon as I put it on I felt like a new man. I can now leave truss off without detecting the least sign or feeling of the rupture. I most highly recommend the Cluthe truss to anyone who is ruptured and wish to give you my best thanks for what it has done for me. Adam Desoy, South Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Did not believe Cluthe truss would cure, now happily disappointed. Over a year ago I bought a Cluthe truss but had no belief that it would cure my rupture. I have been, however, happily disappointed and am now glad to inform you and everyone suffering from rupture that the Cluthe truss did cure my rupture entirely. Thanks to you. G.O.L. Prentice, 29 Mechanic Street, Putnam, Connecticut. For 47 years suffered with wrong trusses, Cluthe truss proved its worth in this case. I was ruptured in the spring of 1863. For 47 years I bought and wore all kinds of trusses and none ever held the rupture. 1 year ago I bought the Cluthe truss. It holds the rupture securely. I have better health, can now do any kind of work on the farm and forget actually that I wear a truss. I have no dread now of strangulation and am thankful I saw your ADV, sent for your book and bought the one truss that by experience proves that it holds the rupture at all times. I am now in my 85th year and happy with the Cluthe truss. James S. M.C. Clerkin, RFD No. 1, Box 63, Murraysville, Pennsylvania. Cured by Cluthe truss in 5 months after suffering 49 years. I have worn your truss since August, and in the following January, merely by chance, I took off the truss. To my surprise I could not see any rupture nor feel any opening, nor after coughing, the spot is firm and no protrusion. While as a member of Company F, 46th NY Volume INF, during the bombardment of Fort Pulaski, I ruptured myself, and ever since, after 49 years, April 1862, I have tried many trusses with no results of any benefit until I tried yours. I gladly give the Cluthe truss my strongest recommendation on what it has done for me. C. G. Rus Phoebus V.A. Wore other trusses 4 years without benefit, Cluthe truss cured in 3 months. I take great pleasure in adding my name to your list of cured patients. I wore the Cluthe truss but 3 months and am now entirely cured. I wore other appliances for 4 years without the slightest benefit. With best wishes and many thanks, and assuring you you may use my name in any way you wish. W. E. Henderson, Independence, Louisiana. Perfectly well after 1 year's use of Cluthe truss. Kindly mention my name in your book of cured patients, as I have worn the Cluthe truss but 1 year and am now perfectly well and trying to get others to buy Cluthe trusses. P. L. Pinard, Las Vegas, New Mexico. Wonderful cure for his double rupture. Many years ago I discarded the Cluthe truss as it cured me of my 2 ruptures. I now look upon this cure as permanent and wonderful, as I was past the middle of life and suffered torture from other trusses before ordering the Cluthe truss. I consider it my duty to recommend the Cluthe truss to all people afflicted with ruptures. W. B. Fish, President, Bullock MFG. Associates, Springfield, Massachusetts. Another thankful man cured by the Cluthe truss. I was cured of my rupture trouble by the Cluthe truss and cannot speak too highly of the benefits I received from it. I shall spread your wonderful work abroad to all in the condition I was in. Frank Kennedy, Ingram Port, Halifax Company, Nova Scotia, Canada. Satisfaction from the first. Some time ago I purchased the Cluthe truss, which has given excellent satisfaction from the time I used it. It has cured my right side rupture entirely, and the left side is also nearly cured. Moses Keller, Fleetwood, Penna. A new man since wearing the Cluthe truss. It will soon be 2 years since I purchased my Cluthe truss. I certainly have been a new man ever since I put it on. I have left it off and felt no bad effects from doing so. I am now cured. A. M. Rogers, 120 Henry Street, Binghamton, New York. Cluthe truss cures absolutely. I am absolutely cured of my rupture by the Cluthe Trust. I consider your trust the best device ever made for rupture. J. F. Woer, 167 Perry Avenue, Maspeth, Long Island, NY. Relief after 23 years of torment. 84 years old. After 23 years of torment with different appliances, I put on the Cluthe Trust as soon as received, and have not taken it off night or day since, and have no reminder of it being on. It was a blessed day for me when I received it. I am 84 years old. Jeremiah Gove, Griswoldville, GA. More comfort in 1 month than before in years. After more than a month's test of the Cluthe Trust, I wish to inform you how well pleased I am with it. It holds me perfectly. I have taken more comfort since wearing the Cluthe Trust than I had for years. Price W. Bailey, Postmaster, Seneca Falls, New York. Would not take $500 for his Cluthe Trust. My father, John Brearley, wishes me to write you that he would not sell his Cluthe Trust for $500 if he were unable to procure another like it. W. P. Brearley, M.D., 228 Central Avenue, Albany, New York. His rupture has healed. I have been wearing the Cluthe Trust several months and my rupture has not come down in that time. I took the truss off 8 days ago and have not noticed the first sign of a rupture, and I believe it is all healed up. Thanks for the greatest of all trusses, the leader of them all. J. Common, Box 38, Spring Valley, New York. Cluthe Trust made new man of him. Having used your Cluthe Trust for 3 months, I feel now that I can highly recommend it. It has made a new man of me and my rupture has never been out since putting the truss on. Chaz W. Howell, RFD No. 3, Trenton, New Jersey. Cured his son. A short time ago I bought a Cluthe Trust for my son, which truss I am thankful to say has cured his rupture entirely. He is a very strong boy, continually jumping and tumbling around, and still we can see no sign of the rupture. You can refer anyone you wish to me. A. Davis, 2844 38th Place, Chicago, Illinois. Ruptured 13 years, cured by Cluthe Trust. I suffered torture with a rupture for 13 years. Then I got the Cluthe Trust, which cured me in a short time. Your trust is more than you say it is. I can get a doctor to back all I say for the Cluthe Trust. John T. IB, Box 60, Myersburg, Ontario, Canada. Another man cured. Some time ago I bought a Cluthe Trust and I write to tell you that it has cured my rupture. Frank E. Barnes, Phillips, Montana. Can recommend Cluthe Trust to all. I can recommend the Cluthe Trust to all persons suffering from rupture. I surely have been benefited by the Cluthe Trust very much in the short time I have been wearing it. Chaz F. Wecker, 410 West Princess Street, York, Pennsylvania. Wants world to know he was cured. I was cured by the Cluthe Trust after suffering from a rupture for 20 years, and I want the world to know of my cure. I have not had my Cluthe Trust on in 8 months and I can see no sign of my rupture. Milton M. Owens, Oak Hill, Florida. Another cure and another thankful man. I am very thankful to Mr. Chaz Cluthe, for he was the first man that ever told me where my rupture was. 2 doctors wanted to operate on me and were about to get me into a hospital when I heard of the Cluthe Trust and bought it, and it has cured me of my rupture. Both doctors were about 6 inches out of the way of where Mr. Cluthe told me my rupture really was. Fred A. Wood, 269 Fayette Street, Hammond, Indiana. Sends his patients to us. I have sent my patients to you with perfect satisfaction, knowing you have an excellent trust, the Cluthe Trust. A. Eugene Austin, M.D., 616 Madison Avenue, New York City. Now well and sound, goes bowling. Last month I took off your trust as I am cured, and I now go down to the bowling alley and often spend an hour and a half bowling, and I do not feel anything and am satisfied that I am now cured. I will consider it a pleasure to recommend the Cluthe Trust. H. W. Irwin, 190 West Brookline Street, Boston, Massachusetts. This New York City man completely cured in less than a year. I found such good results from the use of the Cluthe Trust that I only had to wear it less than a year when I was completely cured. I have since been as well as ever I have been in my life. December 22, 1911. Andrew Ruff, 661 9th Avenue, New York City. Could hardly walk now, rid of all pain. Words cannot praise the Cluthe Truss highly enough. After suffering 9 years I purchased a Cluthe Truss and it has rid me of all pain. Before wearing your truss I was unable to walk half a mile. But one morning lately I walked 8 miles, and if my feet did not give way I think I would be walking yet. I have no pain now and perform all my household duties, as I could not before wearing the Cluthe Truss, because I had such pain from my rupture. I owe much to the Cluthe Truss. It saved me from the knife. Mrs. A. H. Lamy, 60 Gregg Street, Rochester, New York. Man of 79 has nothing but good to say. I have nothing but good to say of the Cluthe Truss for what it has done for me, a man 79 years of age. D. F. Woodward, Pine Island, Minnesota. Wouldn't take $100. I wouldn't take $100 for my Cluthe Truss. Success to the Cluthe Truss. R.L. Outer Vicksburg, Miss. Ruptured 20 years. Cluthe Truss holds perfectly. Truss received and am well pleased with it. It is a perfect fit and holds my rupture perfectly. The Cluthe Truss is the first one to hold my rupture in 20 years. F. W. Jones, Enterprise, Oklahoma. Thanks to Cluthe Truss can now climb trees. The Cluthe Truss is the only one worthy of the name of truss. It was the best investment I ever made. I suffered untold agony with other appliances, but the Cluthe has been a pleasure to wear. I can now climb trees like a squirrel. Thanks to the Cluthe Truss. W.M. Leroy Garrigus, Waterbury, Connecticut. Says Cluthe Truss is the best on the market. Truss received this PM. Everything is more than satisfactory. You certainly have the best truss on the market. If I can say a good word for you I shall be more than pleased to do so. Abel Haley, Wolfboro, New Hampshire. Grateful for the cure effected by the Cluthe Truss. I have not worn my Cluthe Truss in 6 months as my rupture is entirely cured, and I cannot find words to express my gratitude to you and your wonderful truss. It is without doubt the best truss made and I can highly recommend it. A. H. Egbert, 74 Alexander Street, Newark, New Jersey. Physicians say best truss they ever saw. I have worn your Cluthe Truss for a month and am free to say it is the only truss that I ever found perfectly satisfactory. I have worn trusses for 51 years and spent hundreds of dollars. All these were failures. I have shown the truss when on me to several physicians, and they all say it is the best they ever saw. J. Mabott Brown, Superintendent, Madison Fire Agents ASSO, 35 Tenney Block, Madison, Wisconsin. Ruptured 20 years, cured in 5 months. For the benefit of those who are in the dark about trusses and who are suffering unnecessarily, I wish to state, without solicitation on your part, that after spending over $200 for all kinds of trusses for over 20 years, I purchased a Cluthe Truss in March, 1908. 5 months later I took off the truss and have not worn any since. My rupture is cured and I am today as strong and well as the healthiest man. I might add that I did not take your promises seriously when I purchased the truss, but I have changed my mind since, and I hold you now in the highest respect and believe you fill a long-felt want for the suffering thousands. Anyone can communicate with me who doubts the truth of this assertion. Hugh A. Mackenzie, North Lake Ainslie, Inverness Company, CB&S, Canada. Clergyman tells how he was cured. I am only too glad to add my word of commendation as to the value of the Cluthe Truss. I had used a number of others with no permanent good. You cannot say too much in reference to the Cluthe Truss. It does all you claim for it. It cured my rupture. Rev. Dr. G.O.M. Hamlin, Vineyard Haven, Massachusetts. Cured by Cluthe Truss, now does heavy lifting. I write to tell you that I was very much benefited by the Cluthe Truss. I have not worn it in 2 months and have not felt the rupture at all. I work in a feed store and have to do very heavy lifting. J.S.A. Crawford, 109 North Street, Middletown, New York. Says doctors are enthusiastic. The Cluthe Truss has given me wonderful satisfaction. I have shown it to quite a number of people and doctors and they all think it a fine truss. My rupture is now entirely cured. John J. Croak, Culebra, Canal Zone, Panama. After trying all kinds, cured in a few months. After trying all kinds of trusses which did more harm than good, I purchased a Cluthe truss about 5 years ago, and after wearing it a few months have not seen or felt the rupture. I am entirely cured and can recommend the Cluthe truss to anybody suffering with a rupture. Fred Croce, Jr., 2228 John Street, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Cluthe truss brings long-denied comfort. Your truss received. A perfect fit. Have put it through a severe test the past month, and I am pleased to state that it has given me a long-denied comfort, is satisfactory in every way, and a master of my rupture, for which accept my thanks and lasting gratitude. I deem it my duty to recommend the Cluthe truss whenever I can. Chas H. Meads, Ellicott City, Maryland. Permanently cured 10 years ago. I purchased a Cluthe truss from you about 10 years ago, and after wearing it 1 year I found it cured me, and this cure has been a permanent one. R. H. Nelson, Ravona, Pennsylvania. Cannot speak highly enough for the Cluthe truss. About 8 or 10 months ago I purchased a Cluthe truss which I have worn with the greatest success. About a week ago I left truss off and find that the rupture does not show, either have I felt it, and I think I am cured. However, I shall put truss on and wear it when I have hard work to do as a special precaution. I cannot speak highly enough for your truss. R. E. Loader, Kulimi, North Carolina. Medical student cured by Cluthe truss. I am glad to say that after wearing the Cluthe truss I laid it aside over a year ago, and have not needed it or any other since. I am taking up the medical profession now, and if I can be of any service to you at any time in future I will be glad to be of such service. Arthur L. Black, M.C. of S.C., Charleston, South Carolina. Freed this man of his rupture trouble. I take pleasure in giving you my full consent to make public my testimony regarding the benefit derived from your scientific truss. If you meet with any doubting Thomas, send them to me. I will be pleased to tell them what it has done for me. T. B. Gallagher, 167 West 129th Street, New York City. Saved him from an operation. I can safely recommend the Cluthe truss as the only safe alleviator of the terrible sufferings of those unfortunate sufferers from rupture. It was the Cluthe truss that saved me from an operation. My very highest commendations for the best truss, the Cluthe truss. E. F. Griffith, 127 31st Street, Newport News, Virginia. Himself cured by the Cluthe truss, sends order for a friend. I take pleasure in handing you herewith Mr. S. order for a Cluthe truss together with remittance, which order please acknowledge. Mr. is an employee in our office, and being familiar with my rupture troubles became convinced that as your truss cured my rupture it ought to do the same for him. Hence his order enclosed. C. A. McLean, care of Laredo Water Company, Laredo, Texas. Cured, but so comfortable would feel lost without truss. I believe I am absolutely cured by the Cluthe truss, but I still hang on to it, would feel lost without it. I should consider it a pleasure to recommend the Cluthe truss to any doubting or suffering ones, for I know what it is. Chas. M. Bachman, 603 East Fayette Street, Syracuse, New York. Utica man thinks of us as old friend. The Cluthe truss has given me such a wonderful cure that I think of the Cluthe Company as an old friend. J. C. Bigelow, Sr., Florist, 2 Columbia Street, Utica, New York. Says Cluthe truss is finest on earth. I am more than pleased to acknowledge receipt of the Cluthe truss, which arrived last Saturday, and to say that the wearer reports it the finest on earth. You are at liberty to refer any and all to me. H. C. King, broker, 22 Fifth Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Cured by the Cluthe truss. I am glad to let you know my rupture is cured by the use of the Cluthe truss. F. F. Kralischek, Seymour, Connecticut. Cluthe truss gives perfect satisfaction. My Cluthe truss has given perfect satisfaction. The left side rupture is entirely healed and right side much better. Have taken a great deal of pleasure with it. G.O.A. Hanson, Box 1154, Bath, Maine. This Yonkers, New York, man cured. I recommend the Cluthe truss to everybody who needs one, as it cured my rupture. M. Samuels, 189 Ashburton Avenue, Yonkers, New York. Double rupture cured in 6 months. It is now 6 months since I purchased my Cluthe Truss, and I have not seen any sign of my 2 ruptures since. Frank Van Winkle, 430 Plain Street, Newark, New Jersey. Couldn't work until he got Cluthe Truss. You may tell the world that you make the best truss in the world. I have been ruptured 10 years and wore 4 different appliances before the Cluthe Truss, and each of the 4 failed. Since wearing the Cluthe Truss, my rupture has not been down once, despite the fact that my work is heavy in a sawmill. I could not do a hard day's work until I got the Cluthe Truss. John K. West, Broad St., Tallapoosa, Georgia. Says Cluthe Truss leads all. I can truthfully say the Cluthe Truss leads all the others. The old-time harnesses are only a torture. During the past 3 weeks I have been wearing the Cluthe Truss, and my rupture has not bothered me since. I scarcely can believe I have it on, it is so easy. Arthur Fowler, 80 East Street, Clinton, Massachusetts. Rides horseback and runs an automobile. During the few months I have been wearing the Cluthe Truss, I have done almost everything that would rupture a man or cause a ruptured man agony, or to be operated on. I ride horseback, and I am now a chauffeur. Ask any man what it means to crank an engine of high compression. This needs an extraordinary truss to hold a bad rupture under such conditions, but the Cluthe Truss does it. I hardly know I have it on. W.M. C. Wood Care G. L. Bois 7, Mt. Kisco, NY. Cured this boy of a bad rupture. I am more than pleased to say that the Cluthe Truss cured my 10-year-old boy, who was badly ruptured. I thank God for directing me to you. Mrs. Emma Harris, 258 West 44th Street, New York City. Cluthe Truss. One of the comforts of life. It gives me great pleasure to recommend the Cluthe Truss to my fellow sufferers from rupture. I have a double rupture, and since putting on the Cluthe Truss have had that comfortable feeling ever since. I recommend the Cluthe Truss to the ruptured as one of the comforts of life. It was a friend of mine who had derived benefits from the Cluthe Truss who recommended the Cluthe Truss to me. I thank him for so doing ever since. Wilden H. Painter, 51 Eldert Street, Brooklyn, New York. His rupture has not appeared for the last 4 months. I am inclined to think I am cured, but hardly wish to say so absolutely, because I still wear my Cluthe Truss when I work, leaving it off now and then when doing no heavy manual labor. My rupture has not appeared for the last 4 months, and I begin to feel confident that it will not appear again. September 26, 1911. Daniel Ballard, Millington, Mass. Hasn't seen any signs of rupture for 3 years. I have not seen my rupture for over 3 years. The Cluthe Truss is the best I ever had. E. B. Skull, Diaz Creek, Cape May Company, New Jersey. Cured his little boy after he had been made worse at a hospital. My little boy was 2 years old when I purchased a Cluthe Truss for him. After wearing it 4 months it cured his rupture. He is now past 4 years and has never been troubled since. We took him to a hospital before we got the Cluthe Truss for him, but they only made him worse. We have only praise for the Cluthe Truss. Walter C. Chatfield, 221 East 29th Street, New York City. Cluthe Truss worth its weight in gold. I bought a Cluthe Truss and wore it about 8 months. It cured my rupture, although I am 74 years old and I am now as free as ever I was. The least I can say about the Cluthe Trusses is that they are worth their weight in gold. Xavier Colon, Clayton, New York. Best bargain he ever made. I was cured of my rupture by the Cluthe Truss, and it was the best bargain I ever made. I no longer wear a support of any kind. Edition Swope, Avon, Penna. Ruptured 12 years, cured by the Cluthe Truss. The Cluthe Truss has cured me of a bad rupture of 12 years' trouble. It is a blessing to every person affected that way. Lee A. Holden, Norwich, New York. Hasn't needed truss for over a year. I am glad to say that I have not needed any truss for over a year. The Cluthe Truss cured my rupture. I find that ruptured people are somewhat adverse to telling others of their trouble. That is why they do not hear all they might from their fellow sufferers. I would be only too glad to impart to them the benefits received from the Cluthe Truss. Edward Field, Wadena, Saskatchewan, Canada. Thanks God for having heard of the Cluthe Truss. You will remember I got a Cluthe Truss 6 months ago. About 4 weeks ago I took it off and I feel I am cured and have seen no sign of rupture. I feel so much better that I thank God I ever sent for your book. You sent a trust just to fit my case and it cured me and I cannot recommend it too highly. C. N. Tuthill, Jefferson, Oregon. Clergyman cured by the Cluthe Trust. I am happy to say that since I laid away the Cluthe Trust as being cured by it, I have had no occasion to use it. That is now over 2 years ago. Hoping you may be able to do for many others what you have done for me, I am. B. F. Meredith, Pastor, Methodist Episcopal Church, Vale, Oregon. This woman cured in 6 months. I found the Cluthe Trust everything it was represented to be and cured myself with it in 6 months, and in the future will be glad to recommend the Cluthe Trust to everyone I know to be suffering with a rupture. Mrs. R. L. Carey, 4 Woodruff Avenue, Binghamton, New York. Cured in 9 months. After wearing the Cluthe Trust for 9 months, I laid it aside for a season. I had nothing that would hold my rupture in until I got your trust. It has been a blessing to me. God bless you and yours. My rupture has not been out since I laid trust off, which is over 2 months ago. In future, when sending out your pamphlet, add my name to it. It will show my people what the Cluthe Trust has done for me. E. A. Howell, Sr. R. Number 7, Box 40, Boonville, Miss. Now does heaviest work. I have worn the Cluthe Trust for 18 months and my rupture has not been down in all that time. When not working, I am now able to go without the trust. But my work in the hay and grain business is very heavy and I wear the trust when lifting those heavy bales to be on the safe side. John K. Mathewson, 528 Washington Street, Providence, Rhode Island. Himself cured by Cluthe Trust, recommends it to others. Some time ago you furnished me with a Cluthe Trust which cured my rupture. Today, in conversation with a customer who is ruptured, I strongly advised your trust and he asked me to send you his order, which I do. George W. Gill, Maine St., Pincher Creek, Alta, Canada. Wants others to know of Cluthe Trust. I consider myself cured by the Cluthe Trust and am glad to do all I can to help anyone who is ruptured by recommending your trust. Hoping to see my name in your book so I can be of help to others, I am. Elmer P. Wilds, 9 West Dane Street, Beverly, Massachusetts. Indian Chief cured by Cluthe Trust. I will always recommend the Cluthe Trust as the only one that did me any good. I am sure I am cured, but at present will not stop wearing it and take any chances, as I am riding on horses nearly all the time, and a trotting horse is the worst thing for any trust or rupture. My rupture never came down. Your trust never hurt me. I shall gladly answer all letters when they send me returned stamped envelope. October 20th, 1911. Chief Iodine, USS, 625 3rd Street, San Diego, California. With Cluthe Trust on, he can now work on his farm. I was operated on for my rupture, but that did me no good. I then ordered the Cluthe Trust, and it has been a great blessing to me, for I can work now and tend to my farm. May God bless you in your good work. James M. Tripp, Waverly, Penna. Double ruptured 12 years, cured by Cluthe Trust. I had been ruptured 12 years, and in all that time I never found a trust or treatment that did me any good until I tried yours. Now I go about without any trust, as I am completely cured, thanks to the Cluthe Trust. S. A. Andrews, Elm St., Stratford, Connecticut. Enjoys all kinds of comfort from Cluthe Trust. 1 month ago I bought a Cluthe Trust, believing at the time I was throwing my money away, as I had purchased so many other appliances during the 40 years I have been ruptured and spent hundreds of dollars. But I must say for once my money was well spent. Since I have worn the Cluthe Trust I have enjoyed all sorts of comfort. It has held the rupture perfectly since applied. It is clean and agreeable to wear. In fact, I cannot realize I wear a trust. I will with pleasure explain and show my trust to anyone in this section, doubting the above. Abe Stoll, President, Little Rock Trust Company, Little Rock, Arkansas. Cluthe Trust cured rupture of 45 years standing. I left my Cluthe Trust off recently, and there was no sign of my rupture coming out. It cured my rupture of 45 years standing. Wishing you success. John P. Farber, 279 Portland Avenue, Rochester, New York. Ruptured 44 years, helped by Cluthe Truss. I was ruptured on both sides about 45 years ago by jumping from train in a terrible head-on collision. I bought all kinds of trusses and spent considerable money. Then I got a Cluthe Truss and can now do any work in safety. You are a benefactor of mankind. I had to give up my regular work on train before using the Cluthe Truss. C. Mygett 83 Hudson Street, Port Jervis, New York. Cluthe Truss cured this man. From the time I put the Cluthe Truss on in June until I took it off the following May as cured of my rupture, it never once let go or slipped. You may use my name in any way you please if by so doing you can help others. S.B. Connolly, Pioneerville, Idaho. Now goes without a truss. My rupture is cured, as I can go about without my truss. It is too much to believe. It is the Cluthe Truss that cured me. J. Bazell, Fernandina, Fla. Cured scrotal rupture of 30 years standing. Today is the 10th anniversary since you fitted me with the wonderful Cluthe Truss, and I feel that I must not let this day pass without letting you know my opinion of it. Since that day 10 years ago my rupture, a very bad scrotal rupture of some 30 years standing, has not come down from that day to this, and I am permanently cured. I wish I could tell every poor afflicted mortal throughout this land about the Cluthe Truss, and how much suffering and misery it would save them. I wish you and your 4 noble sons a long and happy life for the great good they have done, and are still doing. W.M. H. Bushfield, 55 Tours Avenue, Jersey City, New Jersey. Cluthe Truss cured this boy after others failed. I wish to say that the Cluthe Truss I bought for my boy has cured his rupture. I had 4 other appliances for him before I got the Cluthe Truss, but it remained for the Cluthe Truss to cure him. Edward Peterson, Penn Avenue, Dover, New Jersey. Listen to this man's heart-spoken thanks for the Cluthe Truss. After going through all the pain and misery of a left-side rupture for 16 long years which got so bad that it nearly cost my life, after wearing all the different trusses I could buy, none of them any good as I am a locomotive engineer and my work is of the hardest kind, straining and pulling when I have to reverse my engine 1,000 times a day, I purchased a Cluthe Truss. I have worn it 10 days and as regards the rupture I have not seen it since I began to wear truss, which truss proves a miracle to me. It fits me so comfortably that I really feel like a new man, started out on a new life in a new world with a heart full of joy and gladness. I would if I were near you call on you and your sons who helped to make the Cluthe Truss and shake hands with each of you and give you my heartfelt thanks for the good you have done me. If there is any sufferer who wants to know about the Cluthe Truss let him write to me. S.S. T's 369 Vancouver Avenue, Portland, Oregon. This Texas man finds cure in Cluthe Truss. After suffering many years I got a Cluthe Truss which cured me of my rupture after wearing it for 5 months. October 17, 1911. Edwin Sipes, Chakotah, Texas. Considers his cure by Cluthe Truss worth $1,000. My rupture has not come down since the day I put on my Cluthe Truss. I followed your instructions, and I must say I have been well rewarded. I would not take $1,000 for my truss for I owe my cure to it. You may cheerfully inform the whole world as far as I am concerned, for if I can help others suffering as I did, I certainly will be glad to do so. I am sure it is no disgrace to be ruptured, it is simply a misfortune. I am sure that in most cases of rupture, your truss would soon work a speedy cure as it did for me. October 3, 1911. Edward Dill, 337 South Main Street, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Cluthe Truss cured him in less than 3 months. I gladly let anyone know, and I cannot put it too strongly either, that the Cluthe Truss cured me of my rupture in less than 3 months. October 9, 1911. J. R. Van Cleve Stroll, South Dakota. Another Rome, New York, man quickly cured by Cluthe Truss. I have only had my Cluthe Truss 7 months, and can now safely go about without any truss, without rupture appearing. I would not be back to where I was before I got my Cluthe Truss for $1,000. September 26, 1911. A. Van Wormer, Rome, New York. Finds a cure in 3 months. The truss I received from you gave me complete satisfaction. I had not worn it 3 months, when I could leave it off as completely cured. I believe it to be the most perfect device for rupture that can be made. I might say a great deal more in its favor, but I am sure that anyone who once puts on a Cluthe truss would never be satisfied with the torturing leg straps and heavy springs of other trusses. October 14, 1911. H. O. Webster, Bowell, Ontario, Can. Well-known South Carolinian cured. You are at liberty to use this as you please, if it will help any poor sufferer, suffering from rupture as I did before I purchased my Cluthe truss. I am still using the truss, but my rupture is cured from its use. I have been the means of your selling several of your trusses around here, and I am still doing all I can for you. Your appliance is all and even more than you claim for it. Previously I tried all kinds of trusses that I saw or heard of, but none of them did me any good. September 30th, 1911. W. W. Wooten, Bishopville, South Carolina. Cured him and his child. I don't need to wear any truss at all now, as the truss I purchased from you cured me. It also cured my child of his rupture. October 12, 1911. J. R. Turner, 342 Brook Avenue, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Read what this prominent Bostonian says. I am glad to say that the Cluthe truss I purchased of you a week or so ago works to perfection. It does the business and completely holds the rupture under all conditions. During the past 60 years, I have tried various trusses and treatments, and all were failures or near failures. I am more than pleased to be relieved of the annoyances and suffering I have had nearly all my life. I shall take great pleasure in recommending the Cluthe truss to all I meet, for I am now up for reference. I wish you all success in relieving suffering humanity. September 13, 1911. Henry Warren, 70 Essex Street, Boston, Massachusetts. His pleasure to inform of the complete cure by Cluthe truss. It is a pleasure for me to inform you of the complete cure in my case by the Cluthe truss. I wish to say that I have not worn my truss nor any support whatever for 4 months, and I am sound and well, thanks to your treatment. Command me at any time that I may be of service to you or the afflicted, for it is indeed a great pleasure to me to speak a good word for the Cluthe truss. September 1, 1911. W. W. Willis, Clarksburg, West Virginia. Delights in permanency of his cure. The strongest argument I can make, based on my own experience with the Cluthe truss, is that I have been permanently cured by using it. October 13, 1911. Alfred Wandres, Cornwall Landing, NY. A blessed day when he received his Cluthe truss. I got a Cluthe truss from you about 5 months ago, and it has completely cured me. I went without it for 3 weeks, and there is no sign of the rupture coming back. When I received it and put it on, for the first time, I felt instant relief, and knew then that it was going to do me good. It was a blessed day for me when I received my Cluthe truss. November 23, 1911. Peter M. Stewart, Bolter, Ontario, Can. Now only wears it as a precaution. I never wear my Cluthe truss now, only when I have some extra heavy lifting to do. I am perfectly cured of my rupture, however, thanks to the Cluthe truss. November 28, 1911. George E. Beale, Ponca, Arkansas. Wants everyone to know that Cluthe truss is a necessity for all ruptured who want relief. I want everyone to know my opinion, which is that the Cluthe truss is the one that everybody ruptured should get, if they want relief. I have tried many, and have found yours the best and easiest to wear. If I had enough money, I would gladly pay the price of a truss to anyone who would not be cured after giving it a trial. That is how I feel about the Cluthe truss. November 23, 1911. W. C. Woods, Gauze, Texas. 79 years old, cured by Cluthe truss. It is a pleasure to me to let you and all others know what I think of the Cluthe truss. My case was a double one, and the rupture on the right side was very bad, but I can truthfully say that I am now cured. I am now living on borrowed time, being in my 79th year. November 28, 1911. C. T. Redfield, 48 Grape Street, New Bedford, Massachusetts. Hard work every day did not prevent this cure by Cluthe truss. I really don't know how to express my gratitude to you, for my rupture is cured at last. I feel as strong as I ever did before I was ruptured. I work hard every day and have never had any bad effects. November 28, 1911. Andrew E. Peters, Escuminac River, Ken. Cured by Cluthe truss while lifting rails and ties in the course of work. I have often been without my Cluthe truss, and rupture has never come down even without the truss. Before getting the Cluthe truss I had tried many others, but none of them held my rupture continuously, to say nothing of the discomfort caused and chafing by those leg straps and springs. By reason of my work as section foreman I am frequently required to do heavy lifting, such as railroad rails and ties. This is what I think of the Cluthe truss. November 27, 1911. Frank Chapman, Hollis Depot, N.H. Frontispiece. Larger photograph in center, surrounded by the 4 others. Chas Cluthe, founder of the Cluthe Rupture Institute, 41 years experience. Founder of the Cluthe Rupture Institute. Chas Cluthe, Jr., 23 years experience in the Institute. J.R. Fred. W.M. Cluthe, 21 years experience in the Institute. Herman Cluthe, 19 years experience in the Institute. Alfred Cluthe, 17 years experience in the Institute. Page 37.